All right, we're live.
Nice.
All right, so welcome to Off Took Outdoors. I'm Ted, your host, and I have a very special guest with me tonight. I'm very excited to have him on. It's always a pleasure to speak with Josh from Whitetail Driven Solutions. So welcome in, Josh.
Hey, we sure appreciate it. Thanks for having me back.
Oh yeah, it's awesome. You're a book of knowledge. I love having you on here. I love getting you out to the people and letting you explain, what you do and everything. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna sort of give it to you a little bit here, Josh, and let you explain a little bit about your channel,
Yeah.
your profession, your business, and what you do. So go ahead and
Yeah.
have at
Great.
it.
Well, first and foremost, thanks for having me back. I know we did this last year. We'd like to do it more. We just talked about that. It's kind of hard to
I know.
schedule sometimes, but this time of the year, I'd take advantage of this. I've got, a couple that we're going to be doing with other folks as well. So I look
Hmm.
forward to them. It's kind of my time of the year to I say that with a deep breath, right? You get off the road and we're able to hunt and we're able to, enjoy camp. And I got some folks coming down. My boy is actually coming down with some good folks, good friends of ours next weekend. So I'm looking forward to that. So, yeah, spend a lot of time, on the road, Ted. It's work, right? But it's a blessing. I don't take it for granted at all. The good Lord has sure blessed me over the years and yeah, put 30,000 miles a year on the truck, spend 120 nights a year in a motel. The schedule's open for about 80 clients. I do about 60 to 65 designs a year. And then we're involved in about a dozen builds. And then, this year we um, got involved with some, which I've been wanting to do and hope to do more of purchasing, building, and selling. So flipping turnkey hunting properties for folks. So we did our first one in Western Kentucky with a good friend of mine that helps me with my builds, Mark at Promised Land Tree Service there, and two of us sold that, and a gentleman out of Michigan bought it, and so we're gonna be doing some more of that. So yeah, it's we're busy. It was a blessing this year. My boy, probably if any of you follow the channel at all, you've seen that my in the business, my boy was in boot camp last year, and we got him through that. So this time last year, we were going through that process. Very humbling experience, but got that done, and he was able to work with me all summer. So um, yeah, met a lot of every year. Just meet a lot of great people, and it's how we met, right?
Yep,
So
yep, for sure.
met a lot of great people, and every year. And like I said, it's get to see a lot of different properties and help a lot of folks and just feel blessed. I one thing I'd tell everybody, Ted, is I don't, you know, it's a profession, right? I love what I do, and I hope that shows. But I don't know anybody, more than maybe anybody else. Try to stay humble about that. I just get to experience, I get to see more property a year than most people get to see in a lifetime. Different property, you know what I mean?
Yep,
And so you pick up on things, and I'm always learning,
yep.
right?
We always
Through
can
my
learn from each
clients,
other
and
for sure. Yeah.
yeah, it's no different than the hunting that we do in the tree. You learn every year, right? So
Oh yeah.
always learning, picking stuff up from clients, and that just helps other people. And I'm just the blessed one to be in the middle of that, right? So
Yep.
that's kind of the business as a this as a in a nutshell. I guess I this time of the year we do all of our bookings, and usually we're about November we're in that 70% booked, and then we by January we get back on the road, and I'm usually 100% booked by January. But yeah, it's sure a blessing, but very busy. So
Yeah, for sure, for sure. And I did want to mention too, like you said how we met or whatever, and
mhm.
I talked to you. I asked you for some advice. Now I don't know Josh. I didn't know Josh at the time from John. John in Iowa. Like I didn't know anybody. You know what I mean? So when I talked to Josh, he was really, really professional, really like down to earth. Like one of the guys. So that was really cool. I felt comfortable talking to him. And actually, he stopped at our property. Like we didn't just. I didn't schedule like a session with you or anything like that. You were driving through. I think you were going to Kentucky or something like
Yep.
that. And I told him about our sportsman's club, and he offered on his own guys to come. Now I'm not saying he's going to do this for everybody come
Yeah.
down for like for free or whatever, but he was nice enough to stop over, after we talked and got to know each other a little bit on the phone. He
Mhm.
actually stopped at our camp and walked a little bit with us and gave us some advice and some pointers. And we've been following that and trying to stick up with some things that you said. And you also gave me a booklet, and I think you give
Yeah,
all your clients that booklet, like on
I do.
how to do things. And he offered that booklet to us, and it's like the Bible to me. Like, I'm like, read it, and we try to take little pieces. Now we can't, obviously, our budget and everything for a sportsman's club, we can't do everything all at once, but
Yeah,
we can take bits and pieces out of that, and like learn from that and implement that on our properties, which have helped. We're seeing bigger bucks, more bucks. Our food sources are better. We're doing hinge cutting. We're leaving bedding areas go just like you told us to. So guys, if you don't follow Josh's channel, Whitetail Driven Solutions, I strongly encourage you to go over there. I'm going to put the link in the chat here, guys. I want everybody in this chat to go over, give him a sub, and follow his channel. You will learn a lot from watching him. I just watched your video today that you put out this morning. We'll talk
great.
about that in a little bit, because
Yeah,
we'll talk about ruffling feathers a little later.
yeah. I
You know?
that time of the year. Yeah,
Yeah, for
I
sure.
appreciate that, Ted. I really
Yeah.
do. I have a for folks that maybe don't know, I'm originally from Michigan. I live in central Kentucky now, but the home farm's in central Kentucky and Washington County. But I, I'm originally from Michigan, so deer camps mean a lot to me. You know what I mean? That's where I was born and raised, hunting in a deer camp situation, and obviously took it as a profession and went from there. But I mean, it's so that any time that I can, I wish I could do it more, you know, and make money elsewhere and just go from deer camp to deer camp to deer
Yeah.
camp, helping
Yeah.
people. But so I
Unfortunately.
do a lot of those settings every year and try to schedule them in where I can stop and help folks. Speaking to groups and then the YouTube channel, right?
Yep.
This year was kind of we were so busy and my boy kind of took the YouTube channel over that we had some, I'd say some timely growing pains there. We just didn't get a chance to do a lot of our, um, videos timely like we usually do. And now we're
Hmm.
back on track and we got it all figured out. So, but yeah, no, I sure appreciate that plug. I really do.
Yeah. No, that's you well deserved. I mean, you're very, very professional. You're very knowledgeable, and like I knew, like you told me, like you're like one of the guys. Like you're not.
Yeah,
It has to be your way and this way. Like you explain it to people and you put it in terms like that's reasonable and doable. You know what I
yeah,
mean, on your property. Like I said, you don't have to go spend millions of dollars, thousands of dollars all at once. You put it in a plan where you can implement parts every year. You know what I mean? Oh, I think he hit the wrong button. Hopefully he comes back. We'll see if Josh comes back. Wait, sorry. Any news on the EHD? Yes, we're going to be talking
sorry
about
about
that.
that. I had a call
That's
come in.
okay.
I don't know. I thought I had my notifications off, but sorry
I do
about that.
that too. I do that too, and it does the same thing. Notifications, it still cuts off for some reason. I
I
don't
don't
know
know
why.
if my
I
speaker.
put it on hide. Let's see if Josh can. I'm going to text him real quick. Can you hear
Can you
me?
hear me?
I can hear you. I can hear you. Let me see. Hold on. Let me see. You might have to go out and come back. Or
Are you there, Ted?
I am here. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can't hear you for some reason.
Okay. Unplug your mics. Let me hold on. Can you hear me? Can you hear me now? Can't hear you. Can't hear you. I can hear you. I can hear you. You to me, I can't hear, but I can hear you.
Hmm.
See if he listens. I got the mics on. Take your mic out. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me? I don't know if he could hear me, guys. Hold on. I know you can hear me, Chris. I'm just waiting for. I can't hear Josh. Um, or he can't hear me. I'm sorry. I don't think he can hear me.
Yeah, I
So
don't know what is going on here. I
it's
can't
okay.
hear you at all, Ted.
Okay. Go out and come back. Maybe go out and come back. Can you hear me? Okay, he's froze up. Okay, he's having a little bit of technical difficulty. He was saying that his um, mics were giving him a hard time, so we're going to try to get him back in here as soon as possible. We'll let him figure that out real quick here, and hopefully he can come back in. Yeah, that's what I am having him do that, Chris, for sure. Leave the studio. Come back. Okay, so let me remove him like that. And let's see if he comes back in. Have him go out and come back in. Yep, we're going to have him go out and come back in. And see if he comes back. But anyway, yeah, Chris, we are going to be talking about EHD. Hopefully he gets back on here. I wanted to talk a few things about Cheeks is his deer that he harvested this year. So we're going to be trying to talk to him on that. And then we're going to touch on early season hunting and setups. And then we're going to do mock scrapes and EHD. So that's all the topics. All right, let's see now. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, there you are. Sorry
There we
about
go.
that.
No, you're fine. It
I don't know what.
happens, dude. StreamYard has
Yeah.
been so crazy to let this year.
Yep.
Like I did a thumbnail and it said it wouldn't fit. And I've used the thumbnails for the last 5
Really.
years on Livestream, and it said I got to put it in a JPEG file now. So
Yeah.
they're
Well,
changing
it's
stuff up.
usually when it rings, I can do I can ignore a call or something, and it kicked us off there for some reason. I'm gonna try to put my mic. Can you hear me good enough,
Oh
guys?
yeah, we can hear you great.
Okay.
I
Well,
think the chat can hear you too. They were saying that they could hear both of us, but I just couldn't hear.
really. Okay.
I could. I think you could hear me, but I couldn't hear you.
Yeah. No, sorry
Yeah.
about that. I
No,
think we're
you're
back
fine.
in.
You're
I can hear
fine.
you. I can hear you now.
It's just like hunting, man. There's always
Yeah.
technical
Yeah.
difficulties, right?
Yeah.
So this is
Yeah.
live. This is live. So anyway, I was talking. We had some questions about like EHC and stuff, and I told people we are going to get to that. But
Yeah.
first of all, I don't know if like anybody's following his channel or not, but make sure you go follow it. I want you to talk about your deer that you harvested this year, and its name was Cheeks, and you have
Yeah.
some history with this deer. So I sort of want you to tell the story, however
Good.
you want to tell it. So go
Yeah.
ahead and do that.
That's awesome. No,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. So we bought the farm, and I closed on the farm in 2021 as on like June, and we put some feeders out. It's kind of a whole different story, but we built some feeders, put some feeders out. Weren't really getting any major attraction to it, and thought, what's going on? Anyway, made a feeder, a ground feeder, which kind of drove me towards what we have now with
Mm-hmm.
the relationship with Wicked Feeder Solutions. But anyway, one of the first bucks that we got a picture of on the farm, he was a 2.5-year-old deer at that time, and he had a growth on the side of his face. It looked like a walnut shaped, but it looked like a chipmunk or something is
Mm-hmm.
where that came from, and he had
Yep.
that growth on there. And 2.5-year-old deer, obviously it wasn't, we weren't targeting that deer at that time, but so, it goes on. He was a homebody, but a video he got coming, Ted, is something I think everybody can learn from this deer. I'll kind of give you a little history with him first, but
Mm-hmm.
he was here all the time. The deer hardly ever left. I mean, if he left, I mean, other neighbors have seen him, and I've got a lease across the road, and he's over there. But I mean, it's not. He didn't go very far, and even in his prime, that 3.5, 4.5-year-old time when they're built to roam, like we say, right? He just didn't. He just
Yeah.
didn't go anywhere. I can honestly tell you. So that was 2021. I'll get pictures of him every year. I can honestly tell you, Ted, It still actually kind of shocks me. I was actually going through some footage the other day.
Yeah.
I do not believe I may have. I don't think I have a video of all the scrape activity that we get. Set a new record this year. 20 cameras, 2,800 pictures one night. 75% of them have got their nose stuck to a licking branch.
Yep.
I've never got a picture or a video of that buck of Cheeks using or tearing up a mock scrape. He just was
That's
one of those
amazing.
deer. He didn't care to rut. I've never seen him chase a doe. He was just a homebody, and he was just so outside of the typical.
Yeah.
Even when he was 3 and 4 years old, he just didn't do that, right? So,
Yeah.
so it was he was just a learning buck. The problem with it is when he hit 4.5, the deer, he blew up. He went.
Mm-hmm.
He's always just been short tined, but he's just got a lot of mass, and he was obviously on the target or on the hit list at 4.5. But the deer is such a homebody, you really had to watch
Mm-hmm.
where you were going around the farm. And I have, one of the bucks actually on the wall behind me here. He was kind of on that hit list as well. That bus buck that I shot with my gun a couple of years ago, so encounters with him, but I just kind of we just he wasn't the wow factor buck, if you will, right? We had other wow factor bucks, so we hunted him a little bit, but you just had to watch what you were doing. So great learning curve with him, right? It just kind of taught me a whole different avenue, right, that we can talk
Yeah.
about. But yeah, and then so 4.5 was his biggest year. Last year, I actually seen him. Real fortunate here from the house. I could see a couple of my food plots and destination fields with a spot and scope.
Mm-hmm.
And I picked a deer up in August, and I thought that's Cheeks. What you could tell
Mm-hmm.
by then. But it was like, man, I don't think that's him because he just didn't have it. Well, there was two of them. One of them that I thought was him was the bigger one. Well, he ended up being the smaller one. He actually went backwards at 5.5. So we 5.5-year-old deer. We were still going to harvest him if we had the chance, right? But he just went so far back. So I kind of made a decision about 3/4 of the way or halfway through the year. It's like he must have been sick or had something wrong. He didn't
Mm-hmm.
obviously rut hard because that wasn't his thing.
Yeah.
But anyway, Cheeks got a pass to 6.5, and then this year he, kind of separate topic, but it's we're on a good mineral program now, and I think there's a lot to be said for something in our area that's lacking because like we use the jackhammer from Harper Growing Solutions or DLS Outdoors,
Mm-hmm.
and they're eating it mouthfuls, for 2 years now, and it's like there's something to this. Well, that deer has been a slick, typical 10, short tined, good mass. He threw a big kicker off his G3 this year,
Yeah.
like to a point where it was like I didn't know if it was him or not in
Yeah.
velvet. But he's so his left brow was always short, has always been shorter, and he's so gray and
Yeah.
big old donkey ears and a big blonde. You just get to know him. I mean, I can
Yeah.
you well the night that I got lucky and caught up with him. I mean, 15 seconds when I seen him, I knew it was him. I couldn't have. I mean, if I wouldn't have seen his rack, I could tell you it was him. Just the real dark gray
Yeah.
buck.
Yeah.
But yeah, boy, what an adventure, right? I mean, you have that
Mm-hmm.
much history with a buck, so I guess you could say targeting him for 2 good years now or 3 good years. But yeah, and watch him, 4.5, 5.5, thinking he's going to blow up, goes down.
Mm-hmm.
Trying to hunt him in strategies where you weren't going to run into him at a scrape or he was there, he
Yeah.
used them, but he just wasn't like you weren't going to your strategy had to be a little bit different to hunt that
Yeah.
deer. So
That's kind of crazy that happened. I
yeah,
wouldn't think that would be the case with deer. You think they're just programmed to do what they do, but this one was
yeah,
just
and this
programmed.
year I actually built this year I actually put a spot on the farm specifically for him, right above a bedding area. that he liked to go. We kind of did a little bit different strategy this year with our feeders. I put like one feeder location on each farm instead of having a feeder at each food plot. And I knew that was going to throw him a curveball, because I'll share something with you, Ted. That deer, if he was at a feeder, this is how antisocial he was, right? If he was at a food plot or a feeder, you get a picture of him.
Mm-hmm.
If a doe came in, let alone a buck, right? But if a doe come in, he would leave.
Really?
He just didn't want anything to do with anybody. So there was one spot on the farm that, I mean, I would have bet the farm that he was there every day, because
Yeah.
you'd see him go in there, and you knew he was there. So, so anyway, we set up a spot specifically for him. But then I moved the feeder locations, right? And that was a shot plot on the way out to a food plot. Really
Okay.
neat situation where actually like high ridge, shot plot, food plots on both sides of it.
Yeah.
Great situation. And then I moved the feeders off that one food plot, so he had to go to the other field. And I'm telling you what, he would go to it. Since August, we can start putting corn out here, and on the plots and stuff. But
Mm-hmm.
August 1st here in Kentucky, and so he'd go to it. But boy, it took him a while, because he didn't like being with other deer. So then, as September crept on, he started getting more, his belly. I've told everybody this: at 6.5 years old, those deer are a lot of times easier to hunt than they are at 3.5 and 4, because they're going to get themselves in trouble with their belly, right?
Yeah, for sure.
We're all, I guess, the older we get, we're all guilty of that. But I mean, daylight and the week I had a chance to harvest him, I hunted for him and another shooter that we have. I wanted to get my eyes on, myself or my boy or somebody here on the home farm. And so I put 7 sits in, right? And on the 7th sit, I knew I had a picture of him going into that area that he's always been.
Mm-hmm.
And I actually threw him a curveball that night, because my access into that stand, it's a water hole on a shot plot.
Okay.
That he has to go through to get to the food plot.
Mm-hmm.
So when you catch him, when I always caught him going in there, if the wind, I mean, sometimes you couldn't hunt it, and you just had to watch him walk past the camera at daylight, because there was nothing you could do. So this time though, he went in, and I needed a northeast wind. Well, it was a northeast wind, but I had hunted him like we normally do, coming through. I've got a spot on the farm, internal access, no food, a bunch of switchgrass work, screening. Well, I was taking the e-bike through there, and I'd seen him twice out of 7 sits. I seen him twice, had him at 60 yards one night. So just trying to be patient, you know what I mean? But anyway, I threw him a curveball. I said, you know what? I wonder if that joker, because he's such a homebody, I wonder if that joker is hearing me, even with the e-bike. I mean, I'd leave the house here 2 minutes, I'm in the tree stand. But so I went around, and I can actually come through the top of the farm and through the food plot, through my shot plot, and then just bail behind the screening.
Uh-huh.
Not me at all, right? But with the e-bike, it totally opens up that door. You couldn't pay me enough to do it on foot.
Yeah.
But with an e-bike, it was like, well, I'm going to try it. Well, guess what? I tried it. And where he walked into the shot plot was on the 2-track that I would have drove in on with that e-bike.
Oh, wow.
So he'd been there the whole time. He didn't care. He didn't leave, because every night when I left the farm, or left the stand when I was hunting him, a half hour later, he's in the food plot. I got pictures of him, so I didn't spook him out, but he just knew.
He knew you were there.
Just knew. That 6 cents of them old bucks.
Yeah.
And so anyway, I threw him a curveball, and it paid off. And a very not invasive curveball. I don't do any curveballs until it really gets crazy sometimes, where you're running out of the Hail Mary, but that wasn't the case. I just went in there a different route, had that option with the e-bike now, and it worked out good. He come in, the trail camera actually caught the whole thing on film, and
yeah, I saw that. It was pretty quick though. When he come in, it was like you needed to take that shot.
Well, yeah, he came in, and he was at 15 yards, and that's a box blind. We call it the Sweat Lodge. It's a metal, one of the first blinds I put, but I've got it set up for bow hunting. It's got 3 vertical windows in the front, and then horizontal windows that you can see out with a gun. The food plot and the feeder is 75 yards from there. So he came out into the shot plot, read the script, and there's one walnut. I usually never leave a tree in a food plot, but there's a walnut right in the center of that, and I use it to put my camera on. of the shot plot, and I've got screening that they have to go past it at 30 yards, kind of pinches them down, you know. Well, I thought he was going to the water, so I drew back when he was behind that tree, and he wouldn't stop at the water. So I mean, I pretty much had to yell at him. He just had done it so many times, he didn't have a
Yeah.
clue, you know. And so I'm knock on wood over the years. You know, early in my bow hunting career as a kid, I you know had shot some deer high, and I learned real quick that I always aim at the heart. I just aim at the heart. I aim 2 inches up into the brisket, and if they don't duck, I shoot them in the heart, and if they do, I hit them in the lungs.
Yeah.
I've seen a lot guiding right and stuff, and I've passed as a lot of folks are great shots, but there's a difference between shooting a target and shooting a deer that moves, you know. And
Yep.
so I did. I shot him for 25 yards, had it right on his heart, but he was a little. He knew something was up, and boy, when that thing went off, I mean, he dropped, and he ended up dropping because I smoked him. It was the way the
I saw
the
the
shot
line
plot.
that you did. I saw that
Yeah,
line
it's
that you
crazy.
put up there. I was like, wow.
Yeah, he probably dropped 2 foot, and that's not an
Yeah.
exaggeration. His chest was pretty much on the ground. I mean, so it was, you know, yeah, I should have aimed lower, but he ducked too. So anyway, I ended up, it's actually the shot plot kind of just, it's a gradual grade up. So the arrow was kind of on an angle, if you will. And yeah, he dropped like a ton of bricks, but boy, yeah, that was one that I had to sit there for a while with that
I
one
knew
and
that
take
was
in the
special.
scenery. And
I knew that was special because when I
yeah,
seen you were standing there, I think that was by corn when you found them.
yeah.
Was it standing corn there? And you
Well,
found
no,
them.
that's actually that's actually my screening.
Is that your
That's
screening?
actually the
Is
yeah
that your
the screening
grass?
from yeah.
Okay. Well, when I saw your face when you looked at the camera when you found him there, I was like, that was something that took his breath away right there. So I knew it was something
Yeah.
special. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
he
that was
was.
pretty cool.
Yeah, it's one of those deal, right? I've got higher scoring deer on the home farm and the leases, but the oldest, my goal is always, and I know, and it's kind of regional specific and property specific, right? What is that oldest deer? But I always encourage folks to, especially when you get into, you know, I don't have to harvest a deer anymore. I love to hunt, and you know, I just don't shoot something just to shoot it. It's a game for me now, right? It's a challenge, if you will, and I just want to shoot the oldest buck in the neighborhood. Last year, Cheeks was definitely on my mind, and I ended up
Yeah.
shooting a 4.5 year old with my gun, and it was great. It was a 4.5 year old that was on the hit list, but when I did it, it was just like I don't know. I didn't get that.
You
Like
didn't get that.
I didn't shoot the oldest deer in the neighborhood, and I just told myself I don't care if I eat tag soup anymore. If I'm not targeting the oldest deer or one of the oldest deer, I'm not gonna do it. You know,
See, I'm not to
so
your level yet. I'm on the 4.5, 5.5. So I'm
yeah,
not
no.
into that oldest buck yet.
Well,
I'm not there yet.
well, it's like we said. I feel blessed to have the opportunity where we're at, right? And it might be. I'm asked that a lot. You know, like what do I need to shoot? And I always really try to get in depth with that with folks, right? It's very regional specific, regional and property specific. If you're not in the, you can be in Iowa, but if you're not in the right community, you might you might never get that 5 and 6 year old bucks, right? So
Hmm.
if you're in Michigan, Pennsylvania's another one, right? Great deer, but
Yeah.
maybe the oldest buck in the neighborhood's a 3.5 year old deer. So if I told, and they're sadly not pointing fingers or naming names or anything because I'm not that guy, but sadly there are some people in my industry that frown, if you
Hmm.
will, on guys that shoot 3.5 year old
I've
deer, and they
seen it.
tell
I've
their
seen it
clients that. And
all over social media. I've seen it.
well,
PTN
and
especially.
I'm not that guy. I just, you know,
Hmm.
to each his own. But if you, it's a totally different. I don't know. It's a totally different hunt, if you will, when you're targeting the older buck, or you're trying to figure him out. And
Hmm.
like Cheeks is a perfect example. I mean, I can tell you stories upon stories upon stories with that deer that will
Yeah.
just crazy. I mean, I got a buddy that hunts with me all the time here. That's actually Cheeks is the second buck that we took in camp here this year. I put him on a buck that I had on my lease, 4.5 year old, and we don't have the neighbor power on that piece that we do. So a 4.5 year old, especially if it's a good 4.5 year old, is on the chopping block over there.
Yeah.
So he ended up shooting that buck opening night. That's a really neat story. He ended up shooting that buck, put him in there on a shot block, and caught that buck the first sit and shot him at 12 yards, and that buck was 170 as a 4.5-year-old. So, so we're blessed, you know what I
Oh
mean?
yeah.
It's so that second buck, and then I got my boy and them guys coming back into camp this weekend, so we'll
Well,
see
you
what
did.
else
Well,
hits the ground.
you didn't walk into all that success. You earned that success on your
Well, I
property and stuff.
appreciate
I
that,
mean,
Ted.
I know you created something that
Yeah.
wasn't there before. Now you have something there, and that's all you. You know, so you got to give props to where props is due. And
Well, I
you
appreciate
worked
that. That
very hard. You know, to get your property and stuff like that.
well, the home farm is one thing. I just fell into this area. A couple of our neighbors, I've actually built their properties, right, and we're all on the same wavelength. The gentleman that owns my lease down the road, where my buddy killed that, you know,
Hmm.
170 this year. That property I actually built for him. I I built it, so it's a testament, right? But it's kind of it's a huge piece of the puzzle for me to be able to start tying success to these stories and have folks watch because and follow along and learn from,
Hmm.
because a lot of properties where you lease you can't do anything, right? I mean,
Yeah.
you'll be lucky if they let you put a water hole in, and mock scrapes are one thing, but I
Hmm.
mean, so I just feel blessed. But they're two totally different farms.
Yeah.
Like that's a 60, well, that's a 70, but there's 10 of it out that the gentleman lives on, but 60 and 70 here, but it's night and day difference. That 60 is loaded with oaks. I've got like 5 oak trees on my whole place, and two of
Yeah.
them are red oak, and you know, and a couple persimmons, but a lot more open ground, if you will, here that I've
Hmm.
converted into CRP and switchgrass and cut in bedding areas. Over there, I mean, it's a bow hunter's dream. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so it's amazing to really to see how they react, and then obviously I use that to help clients out. You
Yeah.
know, so I'd rather learn and do things, and we're always testing stuff. You know, like all my partners that we work with,
Yeah.
Brad
Yeah.
and Bo and
Yeah,
all the, you know, the guys.
if you want to mention your partners here, the companies, and that, feel free to
Yeah,
do
no.
so. To
So
give them a
one of
plug.
them is Brad Harper with Harper Growing Solutions. Brad's just a wealth of knowledge. I call him a dirt nerd. So he he's just in tune with that. That's his whole world. But Brad owns DLS Outdoors now, the mineral company, and Full Spectrum Products, and so all of that stuff tied in. But you know, so we're always testing stuff. We're working with some food plot blends this year, kind of like you talked, you know, before. We're playing with
Hmm.
some blends and
Yep.
trying to really, if you follow the channel at all, and or anybody knows my kind of where my heart is with food plotting, it's in the regenerative ag food or regenerative food plotting world. And the reason for that is whether you have a drill, most people don't.
Hmm.
Um, I'm trying to really, you know, if I can do it here on my dirt, and you hear that, you know, people say that a lot, but my farm is something special. We're in what they call we have a fragipan. There's 375,000 acres of it supposedly that stretches from or that stretches from Louisiana to PA. I've actually
Yeah.
found it on a client's property in PA. It's a special deal. It's actually not to go down a long rabbit hole here with you, but what happened is you have a pan in the soil. You know, like if
Hmm.
you always have a 2 foot down or a foot down or whatever that is. You have a hard
Hmm.
pan. Well, our hard pan many moons ago, right, broke during the
Okay.
glacier effect. It broke, and what it did is it pushed it through the surface.
Okay.
So our pan is actually we have, I mean, I've added like 2 inches of topsoil here, but we have our hard pan is surface material.
Ah.
So
Okay.
boy, I mean, when it dries out, it turns into concrete, you know. So
Yeah.
it's the perfect farm to test that stuff on, because like I
Yep.
said, if I can grow it on my farm, I know you can grow it on folks that have better soil, you
That's
know.
pretty
So
neat. I wouldn't have never thought of that. It's just something different you add to the puzzle. Is that the
yeah.
hard pan, and you wouldn't think of that. You know, like a lot of people, oh, I can't
Yeah.
grow nothing here. I can, or I, you know, it's always dry. And that situation happened. It's like pretty crazy to me that,
Yeah.
you know,
Well, and
stuff like
this
that.
year, I'll let you in on a little secret. We've got it figured out, but it's
Uh-huh.
hard. It's a hard pill for me to swallow. So if you are in the area, and it's you can draw a line from the northern part of Louisiana to to PA. I actually, the client I founded there to kind of give you a line was just outside of Williamsport. And it goes right over my farm. You know what I mean? So
Really?
if you draw a line from there to there, it
Yeah.
kind of gives you an area. It's probably a couple 100 miles wide, you know, takes in parts of Ohio and stuff. But it's how they've broke that. I'd highly recommend anybody that's dealing with this great spring and summer food plots. And then when the faucet starts to shut off, like it does, you know, a lot these days, it seems like. But anyway, it happens is the only way to get that soil, that good root stock in there, if you will. We're doing blends, right? 14-way blend in the summer, 14-way blend in the fall, and we're doing that. And I'm gaining topsoil and through organic matter and breaking that stuff down. The problem with it is I can't drill holes into the concrete, you know.
Okay.
So what's happened is the research through the University of Kentucky, believe it or not, the gentleman that just retired, Mr. Murdoch, he has surfaced all this. So we've been in great contact with him through, you know, learnings. And what's happened is it's ryegrass.
Really?
Yeah. So I'm not a ryegrass
I'm not a
no
ryegrass fan.
cereal rye,
Cereal
obviously,
grain.
but
Cereal grain.
when
Yes.
it comes to deer hunting and food plots, ryegrass is a sin. Well, we definitely don't want it in our fall blends, but we have to implement it into our spring blends. And to be honest with you, there's 3 plants that have the highest PSI root, you know, penetration, and ryegrass is one of them.
Yeah, that's
So
why it grows so good. That's why
yeah,
it
yeah,
makes people think that a great food plot, but it really
yep,
can ruin your food plot. There's no really
yeah.
nutritional value in that either.
No, so what we're doing, you know, we're adding it into our summer blends, if you will, and then I'm going to be spraying it back out, and then I'm chasing those roots with our fall, because I don't want it taking up our fall good food, deer food, right?
Yeah, your
Our
hunting
food
plots
area
for
for
yeah.
deal. So yeah, so we're just chasing it with eco-till radishes and stuff like that in the fall. But yeah, totally. That's one of those things, right? Don't know everything. When you stop
Yep.
learning, you might as well hang up your hat
Yeah,
because
for sure.
that's the end of it. And I just I'm just the lucky one, and I'm hoping to really dive into that because there are a lot of people around the country that I don't think have really figured out what their problem is yet, and that is if that's the problem, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? And so it's weird, right? It's got like I can talk to you for hours on it, but I mean it's actually has a glue, a native compound in the soil
Okay.
that it glues itself back together. So you just
That's
fight it and
unbelievable.
fight it
That's
and fight it, and it
unbelievable.
won't give up. You know what I mean? So we think we've uh, debunked it, right? We think we're heading in the right direction.
You got to
We
shoot
just
some.
need
You got
we
to
just
shoot
need
some
grant.
2,4-D in the ground.
Yeah. Well, I'm trying to. What I do is you'll if you follow, you know, or watch that. I
Yeah.
do the regenerative. We don't have a drill. I broadcast everything. So we broadcast, then we crimp, and then we spray.
Yep.
So we got tests going this year where I'm trying to pull the glyphosate back and only do clethodim, so grass killer, but so I don't wipe the slate clean, as you hear, right? And trying to keep that root stock alive more instead of killing it off,
Yep.
everything. So we've got a bunch of those tests going, right? And
Good.
it's yeah, it's just
I'll be
we got
following
two and a
along with
half
that.
inches or yeah, 2.5 inches rain a couple weeks ago, and it's sad when you get 2.5 inches rain and it helps, but it doesn't
Yeah.
cure it. It's
Yeah.
so hopefully it looks like we're getting because my plots are up like you said 4 or 5 inches right now foliar application time, and we're really looking to forward to maybe Sunday or Monday. It looks like we got some rain coming in. So if that
Yeah.
happens, they'll really blow up. So yeah. I just like I said, I surrounded myself over the years with the partners that we have, and learn from them, and they learn from us, and we promote each other, and we've got a real good following. So I when I work with a client, like you touched on before, you get a habitat book, like you touched on.
Hmm.
That habitat book might pertain to you, it might not, but it's kind of all my knowledge in there. And I always resource them guys, and the reason for that is I don't make a dime off from that, right? I buy my
Hmm.
stuff just like you buy your stuff. It's not a secret to get discounts on stuff, but I'm still buying it. I
Yeah.
don't tell people to do things because I get stuff for free. That's not me. It's never been me. I don't. That's the reason I don't call my partners sponsors, because they're not. They're partners.
Mm-hmm.
But it's so. And then what we do with the clients, right? I tailor make a habitat plan specifically for each and everyone's property. So we're able to take that knowledge from those products and say, this is, well, Wicked Feeder Solutions is one of them, a great company. Come a long ways, and the product that they have now is pretty much setting the feeder world on fire, and you're going to see some really cool things coming from them, but not everybody can use them.
Mm-hmm.
So we're always educating folks on that, and we're
Did
kind of
you
on a
you you
R&D
just
team.
had you had your those feeders you were given? Did you finish that up where you were given
Yeah,
the
two
first 5 feeders or
uh
something? You were given.
yeah, 2 hours, as
Yeah.
long as they lasted.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Really?
yeah, yeah. It
So
didn't
you
last
you had
very
to
long.
you had to dish out a couple $100 pretty quickly then.
Well, I had it paid before. What I did is I called
Mm-hmm.
him. I was actually, believe it or not, it was the night that I harvested cheeks. I don't know. I guess I was feeling it that night or something. I don't
There
know.
you
I was
go.
sitting there and I said, you know what? I called Bo, and he didn't know it was coming. I just sent him $500 off for Apple Pay, and he
Yeah.
called me like, "What are you doing?" And I said, "Take and put $100 towards all 5 feeders and give people a discount. Let's spread the word." And he was
Yeah.
great. 2 hours later, he called me. They were all sold. So that was
Nice.
great. So
That's
that's
awesome.
yeah,
That's why
it
you have
worked
that's why
good.
you have partners and affiliates right there
That's
too.
right.
Help each other out.
Yep.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah. So with that being said, if you can feed, there's so much, right, Ted, that's tied to that.
Yeah.
Especially like on a year that we feel blessed here in Kentucky, we are able to do that. And but there's so much tied to it. I see both sides of the CWD, and you should feed, you shouldn't feed. We don't hunt over our feeders. Well, we can reach out and touch them feeders with a gun. You'd be crazy not to, right? But I mean, I
Hmm.
don't sit on top of them with a gun. We keep the pressure low. They're there just to back up the tonnage. And
For
right now,
your plots make up the
yeah,
tonnage
the
from the
tonnage of the
plots.
plots, and when it doesn't rain, it's a blessing, right? So,
Hmm.
yes, the farm would still work and flow the way it would without them because the food plots are there. We're just backing it up, but it's a blessing to be able to do that. So, if you are able to feed, um, their slogan, right, is feed in, find out, and
Hmm.
there's a lot to be said for that because it's been a lot of trial and error, and there. Uh, I'm not the guy to poke holes in other companies, but it's such a eye opener when you take a feeder and you put it on the ground,
Hmm.
and it's a they're working on like a situation to control a little more feed intake or output or whatever, right? But it's gravity fed. You fill them up. They're 400 pounds. I put two of them in each location, so I got 800 pounds there, and there's no noise. You adjust the flow and they just sit there. It'll blow your mind what these deer, they sell bark kit coming for them and stuff,
Hmm.
and it looks like a log. It
Yeah.
looks like a dead log there laying there, right? But uh it just, I've got multiple mature deer eating out of the thing at the same time in daylight. I mean, that stuff just doesn't happen in
No,
there.
it don't.
There's no chasing each other away from the feeder. There's no batteries going dead. There's nothing, and it's a complete eye opener. I think it's a product that, the best way I explain it to folks, right, Ted, is it's a product that I think has opened a lot of eyeballs that maybe we were all doing things wrong and didn't
Yeah.
realize how much pressure we were actually putting on farms just because a feeder looks like a feeder. Because
Yeah,
even
I
if,
think you're right.
well,
100%. I
yeah, I
have an
mean,
experience in Ohio with my
well,
buddy has some spin feeders,
yep,
and he times it so he don't have to use as much corn.
yeah,
But I don't feed with spin feeders or gravity. I dump. I have better luck, and this is sort of pointing towards your feeders
yeah,
of me going out and physically just dumping it on the ground. We've had more pictures of deer eating from the ground than we have from the feeders. Now they come in regularly, you get the small bucks and everything, but those bigger bucks, I mean, people think, okay, in Ohio, yeah, you just put up a feeder and you hunt over it and you're going to shoot the biggest deer of your life. That
yeah.
doesn't happen.
Well, I think a lot of it, I'm glad that you, how do I want to say this? I'm glad that you have experienced the difference between the two. I encourage you though, Ted, to go. One thing now, this, and I say this not just
Hmm.
promoting a certain
Yeah,
feeder,
no,
right?
I
There's so
understand.
much more to back this. That's why we are on this R&D team with them. My background is raising hogs, right? Raising show hogs, did it for years, myself and then my kids. We showed, hogs and uh, very competitively, and took it real serious, and sold and raised some high end hogs, if you will. What came with that is, though, I got 2 years. I got and I didn't know everything with the feed, right? But you really have to know your feed, raising show stock and also raising brood stock, right? Well, I got in a pickle where 2 years in a row I lost about $25,000 a year. Not only in my sows, in my little ones were dying.
Wow.
Couldn't figure out what was going on. I mean, I would have, like York. I tried to get a bunch of York moms, if you will, mothers, right? They produce a lot of milk. They're good, and they have large litters. Well, I'm talking 10, 15 piglets dead. Lose the litter, lose the mother.
Wow.
I couldn't figure out what was going on. Come to find out, it's the vom toxin level in the corn. Didn't even know I had it. Right, I was buying it from the local mill, and it wasn't their fault. They're great people, and they we figured it out together, and they stood behind it. Right, but what was happening is the corn runs this vom toxin, if you will, runs rampant. It's a fungus, right?
Okay.
It's and the more air you give it, the worse it gets. Well, then you create a feed and you make it just worse, and it just keeps amplifying. So what it is, it attacks the female reproductive systems.
Wow.
So that's what was happening. So anyway, make a long story short on that, that's what's kind of helped me help Bo, if you will, or Wicked Feeder Solutions, to like help folks realize that I'm glad, like you said, right, you're putting feed in a more natural setting, but you got to get it off the ground. That's hopefully, it depends on where you're at, right? How much you're putting out and
I
whatever.
understand that because it can cause that mold and all that stuff.
Yeah, and
it's I understand 100%.
yeah, and a lot of folks say, well, and you probably heard this, well, you feed on the ground, you're going to lose it to the coons. I look at that as a good thing. I mean, because what better way to trap your coons if you got them all in one spot? I always tell people, if you're losing corn if you're losing corn, you don't have a deer or a feeder problem. You have a coon problem. So handle the coon problem, right? So there's all kinds of things. They're not bear proof, but we've got pictures of bear rolling the feeder around, and they're metal. They're made in America.
Raccoons can put some corn away. I'm going to tell you right now.
Oh boy,
they can put some corn away.
I think what is the statistic? 6 or 8 pounds a day. So that's why they're trying to come up with like maybe a limiter, if you will.
No,
but I'd rather feed the coons, to be honest with you, Ted. I'd rather feed the coons and lose a little bit of corn a year, and maybe my squirrels eat it, maybe the possums eat it. Whatever. But if I'm getting daylight movement, Cheeks is a perfect example. That deer made some serious mistakes because he got his belly in trouble. I can honestly tell you, if that would have been a different feeding program on there with a different feeder, that probably would have never happened, right? He was on his way to the that feeder on the food plot that night I shot him 100 yards from it, going to it. It's so comfortable for them, right? It's just a different mindset. So I guess, a plug for them is, I say that because I really believe in, the folks that we're working with now. And that's one of them, man. I tell you, if you can use it, it keeps that feed dry. They're 400 pounds now. The trays are, drained out, aerated. It's not holding corn. You open them up when they're empty, and they're empty. There's no corn left in them, So, highly recommended. And I'm
gonna have to look and ask for one for Christmas.
Yeah, sure. There you go. Yeah, they actually just came out with for folks. They kind of use it as like a prototype, and also it's marketable. It's a 100-pounder. So folks that maybe just have it out back where they can run out there once a week. I can't do that here. Because they eat so much, but
yeah, I can imagine. So we have this question in the chat from Hunting and Stuff, Joe. What causes the vomitoxin or whatever you said?
So it's an onboard fungus.
He went out again. Oh, he went out. I think he got another call. We're gonna wait for him to come back in, guys. Sorry about that, and he can't help the phone calls coming in. He's a businessman, so he he'll be back in a second. But yeah, some great information here, guys, from Josh. As you can hear, like we're learning some stuff from him that we never heard of before. So that's why I like to bring him on for you guys because he is a book of knowledge. Here he is.
Can you hear me, Ted?
I can hear you fine. Can you hear me? Nope, you can't hear me.
You still there?
Yes, I am. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry about that. I don't know what that is, man. Call comes in. I tried not to touch
Another
it this
phone
time.
call.
It still did it. So
It does it all the
it's
time.
actually Bo Freeman with Wicked Feeder Solutions trying to call me. So
See that? He heard he heard us
he's hurt.
talking about it.
His
Yeah.
ears are ringing.
There you
So
go. There you go. So
I
yeah,
thought he
I
was.
will look into that feeder, Josh, for sure. So I'll be
Yeah.
contacting you to probably
Yep.
grab one of them for sure
Yeah.
for
So the
Ohio.
to answer that question, Ted, it's a airborne fungus is what it is, and
Yeah.
when you put moisture is the best way to it, it just blows up, right? So
Okay.
if you can keep it contained, if you can get quality corn that's
Mhm.
dry, right?
Mhm.
Like in the feeder, sometimes you got to watch putting like a sweet feeder. You don't want to get anything too gummy, so it clogs stuff up. But they've
Yeah.
got eight doors on each side now, so there's not a lot, but that'll clog up. But to answer that question directly, it's a air fungus, right? And it just multiplies. So that's why putting it in a feeder like that, keeping it elevated off the ground. Um, we'll talk more about it here
Uh-huh.
at the, you want to talk about the EHD thing.
Yeah.
I would love to do that, but um, what it is, if you look around a feed station, right, where I don't care. I always try to put stuff. Maybe years ago, I didn't focus as much on that. I was originally from Michigan, right? So same situation like
Mhm.
PA. When we were able to do it up there many moons ago, right? We put it on the ground,
Yeah.
right? Sugar beets, carrots, corn, whatever. Um, but I always try to put it on something high and dry to let some of that go away. But it creates tracks and mud and everything
Yeah.
else. And what the worst thing that you could do is put, you got to go above and beyond. My feelings are right, guys, is you have to go above and beyond to keep that feed station. If you're going to do it, you got to go above and beyond to keep it dry, because that moisture, if you will, that mud that you're creating at a feed station is no different than a dry cracked mud around water, around stagnant water. That EHD, if you got flies, you can have bugs, you have everything.
Yep.
So
Mhm.
we keep it dry around. I've even got one of them that kind of over the years is getting a little low. I bring rock in and dress it up, plant it with
Yeah.
ryegrass every year to keep it real dry,
Mhm.
But yeah, that's what it is.
That
So
makes
if you
sense.
get
Makes
it
sense.
right, if you get it and don't even know you have it in your corn, and then you put it on the ground, you're just amplifying it.
Yep.
And so it's hard to say, right? Like, I don't know. I mean, can the deer maybe fight it off more than a domestic hog? Probably,
Mhm.
but there's no sense in
But
doing
why
that.
introduce it to them? You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Why do that? You're just putting a
Yeah.
negative, So yeah,
Yep.
I agree with that. Now let me ask you this though: the quality of corn that people put in feeders,
Mm.
like, do you have a preference of corn? Because like you can go to the store and there's super clean corn, deer corn, cracked corn, regular corn, shelled corn,
Yeah.
super vitamin packed scented corn. Like, what's the corn you suggest to put out that's clean? Like, is there a clean corn
Yeah.
that would have less of that, maybe less of a chance to draw
Well,
that?
yes. So what I would recommend doing, guys, I would love to be able to buy it directly from a farm,
Hmm.
um, and take the retail, the big box store out of it. I would love that, right? The problem with that is a lot of them folks just bin dry, maybe is the term, right? So not only do you have a lot of chaff in there sometimes, right? It's hard to put through a feeder, but it doesn't get maybe as dry percentage wise, right? So you take it to a mill. Um, the mill is probably the next step as far as prepping that, as far as keeping it clean and sifting that stuff out.
Hmm.
Maybe running it through a dryer again. Definitely, you know what I mean.
Hmm.
Feed corn and seed corn are two different things. So don't plant or don't feed. My rule of thumb is right. Don't feed corn that you would plant in your food plot. In other words, seed corn and field corn, whether it's has inoculant on it or not. You would obviously never want to feed that to your deer, but
Yeah.
seed corn and field corn's dry, right? Field corn is not that way. They don't dry it as much,
You want
hence
the
because
moisture
they
in
have
it
to
so
be
the crop will
alive,
grow.
right?
Yes,
Yeah.
for sure.
So I would recommend getting the driest corn you can, getting the cleanest corn you can. And sadly, probably to be honest with you, the cleanest corn, I buy mine from the mill, but I know the mill and they know they keep clean corn. That's why I buy it from them. I could buy it from three or four different areas, spots here, and I don't.
Yeah.
I buy it from them because it's clean, and it's very consistent. So I'll touch on something here with you. But what I would recommend doing is finding that spot, and sadly, probably the cleanest corn that would have the less chance of having it is probably your corn that's in a in the bag and dried and the one you're going to pay the most for.
Yep. Yep.
I mean, I go, well, I'm burning a ton every 10 days here with 3 farms, so I can't afford to spend $11 a bag on it. But,
Yeah. No,
so we're getting ours. I'd recommend, so 2 things, right? I'd recommend buying it by the ton. You're going to get a ton break. I'd recommend feeding it as quick as you can. So if you're going to feed 600 pounds, buy 600 pounds. If you're going to feed a ton, buy a ton. Mine, I don't store mine, right? I buy it, feed it, it's gone.
Yeah, it's gone.
One thing I'll share with you, Ted, that I've learned over the years, this goes for multiple different things, but especially the corn. When you are feeding, the biggest thing that I can try to encourage folks with is don't change the if you're going to strategize maybe, or if you're going to try to see what maybe there's a feed comes out that's the latest and greatest and it's got more of a draw or whatever the case is. Try to do that stuff early or something, and
Don't do it in mid-season.
no, because man, I'm telling you, now maybe 2.5, 3.5 year old deer, maybe that's not the end of the world. Maybe it's not the end of the world with your does, but I'm here to tell you right now, Cheeks, if I would have went out and changed something, that it told, I'm not going to say it would have run him off the farm because he was such a homebody, but it's a total. I see it time and time. So my background is outfitting too, right? Years, people would come in, we would have a spot, like in Illinois, obviously we couldn't bait or nothing down there, but Michigan, for example, or some other places around the country, you'd have a feed station going, and then somebody would say, hey, I use this product and maybe put this product out so I can try to harvest a deer over this product, and you put it out and you change it. Guess what? It takes a long time for them to get used to that, right? So I'd recommend having that mindset, and you can always fall back to just regular corn, right? But don't get cute. I wouldn't recommend getting cute trying to change stuff midstream.
Gotcha. No, that makes sense. I see a lot of people doing corn like early, like before the hunting season. Even in Ohio, they're putting corn out. Then come hunting season, they're dumping sugar beets on their corn piles and throwing apples and doing this on it to try to attract more attractant to it with smells and all that. But I always had that feeling like don't change nothing, especially bigger bucks, because if anybody hunts over a corn pile in Ohio, or anybody baits or does that for hunting purposes, people that don't do that and say, oh, it's easier to do that, don't really know, because those deer are on high alert coming into those corn piles. They're circling it. They're coming downwind of it just like they'd be doing any other. And they're really, really attentive to the things going around them when they're approaching the bait stations.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up. I'm a big believer in this, Ted, and maybe this can help some folks. I think that there's a lot tied to this, but one thing I really encourage a lot of folks to do is don't, if you're going to use a feeder, let's say, because maybe you're in an area, Kansas, maybe you're in an area, there's Michigan, it's illegal, but everybody does it anyway. But or Kentucky is a good example. Ohio is another one, right? If you don't have the funds or the property doesn't allow you to put a food plot, maybe it's a leased property where you can't put a food plot in, something like that. Treat that food plot, or treat that feed location as your food plots. So if you put it out, just envision that it's an acre of the most beautiful food plot in the world, right? So you got to get around it. And the sad part of that is like all my feeders, right, are in fields, are in food plots. I don't I
I know
think the
you're probably
worst,
going with.
probably, yeah, one of the worst things that I can see, and I've got some horror stories that wouldn't take me long on social media to find you probably 25 of them right now, but uh, putting corn in the timber and treating it as a hunting spot, right? And if you have a way, if you leave a door open, them does want to bed, whether it's a food plot or a feeder or both.
They want to bed close to the food.
They want they want that 100-yard rim, right?
Yep. So
Well,
you're gonna
where
bump
is
them
that
up.
100-yard rim? You got to
Yep.
know one side of that rim has to be not deer worthy, because if you go further, you go into the timber. Yeah, it might be in a saddle. You might get every picture of every buck in the world. Uh, Good luck getting into it and getting out of it.
No, I agree. That's I follow you 100% with that because
Yep.
I have a situation in Ohio where the bedding area is in front of me. A dominant west wind comes from my left, okay?
Hmm.
I have my feed station down below. I'm up higher than the feed station, okay? And I did that behind me is more open
Hmm.
and like no, there's some CRP behind me, which they could be in, but they don't frequent that as much as the Russian olive and all that stuff in front of
Yeah.
me. So I consider that the bedding area, and I put that feed station in just for that purpose
Yep.
because if they were bedding behind me, that's the way I come into the to it. So I bump everything out of there, just alerted every deer in that area,
Yep.
and they run through there.
Yep.
So I planned that to make sure that that bedding was in front of me, that I don't disturb that, and have that station there so they can come out to me,
Yeah.
basically, with the
It's
predominant wind being a
perfect.
west wind. So
Well, we touched on that before. I remember you asking me that. I think maybe it was even the last podcast that we had, and you're like, "What would you do in this strategy?" There's a lot of people that are in that same position that you're in, right? Like, I'm not saying don't use like with a gun, right? You'd be
yeah.
crazy not to reach out and touch them.
Hmm.
I don't sit on top of them. There's a situation where you could. I've got one on my lease
Hmm.
that there's a blind on a feeder, and the reason for that is it's a cliff off to a pond, and I come up the back door. I take 2 steps out of that blind or that stand, and the only reason that it's the feeder is set at 25 yards is because I don't hunt it in the morning,
Yeah.
and I can get out of there, uh, and they don't know I'm there. I'm not saying you can't do it, but
No,
I'm
I know.
saying the majority of people just
Yep.
think they can do it and without really. So,
They
for
don't think
example,
of it
right?
as a
How many?
food plot. If you think of it as a food plot, there you go,
Yep.
right there. How you would hunt a food plot. A lot of people
Yep.
though think they plant the food plots and they go sit on the edge of it and hunt it all
Yeah.
the time, and you can go out and shoot a 2.5 year old buck out of a food plot, yeah, for
Yep.
sure. But don't
Yep.
expect to get a big one coming in there
Yeah.
regularly if you're hunting that. You know what I mean? Like,
Well, and one of the things is I think what a lot of folks overlook, um, in your testament to that, right? I think a lot of folks overlook is a feeder. If you're going to hunt a feeder, you have to make sure that it's in an area like that that you can get out of Dodge,
mm-hmm,
or you get picked up and you're only going to hunt it once or twice. You get dropped off and picked up, um, a week, right, or
mm-hmm,
something like that. You're not going to overhunt it.
yep,
But the biggest thing is you got to remember when a buck comes in of any age, but older they get, right?
mm-hmm,
When they come into a feed station, they want to scent check that. So if you're sitting on that feeder and the wind is good for you, how do they scent check it? If there's an option for
they're gonna
that deer to
go,
get downwind
they're gonna
with,
behind you, yeah.
it's you're probably blowing a lot of deer out that you don't
You don't even
really
know.
even know you're doing.
I
So
wish
that
I
like
had a
that's
camera. I wish I had some kind of
yeah.
camera or drone up in the air when you walk into your stand just to see how many whitetails are go up and go. You know, I would love
Yeah.
to see that or get the
Yeah.
percentages for sure.
Yeah, it's all about to me. Then there's a lot. I know we wanted to talk about the like mock scrapes and stuff too, but
Hmm.
there's so much of that that I think I'm not saying that you can't hunt on a feeder or you can't hunt on a food plot but I'd like to say I always like to start out with saying don't do it,
Yeah.
because then we can look at the chance maybe can you do it,
Hmm.
because if you just say yeah you can get away with it, well then everybody tries to do it and it doesn't work, right? I
Yeah.
mean it's just shocking to like my clients when they're just accustomed to, and a lot of clients, right, they're just accustomed to hunting that way. And once I explain to them like a food plot, right, like instead of being on the food plot, maybe be 100 yards from the food plot, because then when that buck doesn't go to the food plot, he can scent check the doe bedding. Where's the doe bedding got to be? Don't put a transition in one end of an acre food plot and out the other end. do one of those, but you have to give him another trail to slide past the doe bedding. And it's just, you don't realize that stuff's going on. Cause like I always tell everybody, right, if you're sitting on a food plot or a feeder or a feeder, you're sitting at the end of the on the pot of gold. You're sitting at the
You're
end of the
sitting right there in
rainbow.
the rainbow. Yep.
Yeah. And it's just like your chances of that deer getting there is so less to start with. It's such a small percentage. And as the season goes on, it just keeps getting worse and gets worse and gets worse. And I'll touch on something that I touched on in just a recent video.
Yeah, that was your percentages of how successful you can be in them spots, and
Yeah, and if you
that's going
think
to go
about it,
into our early season talk.
yeah,
Right
if
there.
if you think about it, Ted, it's not. I've got some folks that really do understand the pressure, and they really don't hunt on top of food plots, and they still are feeling the effect from it. And the reason for that is your neighbors are all doing it. I mean, I can tell you right now, 3 of my 4 neighbors all sit on top of corn fields or feeders or on the ground or however they're feeding, right? The problem with that is you have to do something different, right? They're not getting pressured off. I treat those food plots like I treat my you hear this word sanctuary, right? If folks treated their food plots like they treat their sanctuaries, it's a complete eye opener. So are you in a community though that you can stop doing that and then all of a sudden the daylight movement goes through the roof? Hopefully, but a lot of times you're never going to get 100% of daylight movement because your neighbors are doing it,
Doing the same
right? So
thing.
and it just every time that you have them problems, right, you have to amplify it. You have to have a more dense property. You have to, like we talked, right, don't shoot your does. I mean, this whole early, right, there's this whole chain of things that if you do something different that the neighbors aren't, all of a sudden you got a cheek situation on your hands where that deer doesn't know he's hunted, and even if he does catch on to you that you're hunting him, it's so low pressure that he doesn't care.
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
so
No, it makes sense, but it's hard to get them hunters out of their comfort zone. You know
yeah,
what I mean? Like they're
yep,
in that comfort zone. They want to physically see the corn, and that happened to me too. You know, when I
yep,
first started hunting Ohio, I was dumping corn and expecting to have deer
yep,
dump the corn right now, and the deer will be here in an hour. You know what I
yeah,
mean? And it's like just pick which deer you want and take the deer.
yeah,
But it ain't like that. There's a lot to it. A lot of the, but I like the food plot. Think of it as a food plot. That really
yep,
helps a lot and hunt
yep,
the coming. You know, get in there where you're gonna get to the deer,
yep,
and the deer's gonna get to you an hour before sunset, not
yep.
right at sunset or at dark, and then you got to get out of your stand when they're sitting there feeding 25 yards
Yeah.
away from you.
Well, we're working on a situation, and I can't say a lot about it right now, but I just encourage everybody to keep your eyes on the Wicked Feeder Solutions and through our channel with them and stuff. We're working on a situation right now that I think is going to turn the feeder industry on top of its head. I really believe that. Because we're when you have a feeder, right, you're sitting on, like we said, that pot of gold, right?
Hmm.
And there's so much more strategy behind feeding, right? Or a food plot, same
Hmm.
situation, right? Where you put it, how big is it? Do you have a shot plot? Do you have a food plot? Do you have a destination field?
Hmm.
What are you have to understand the 3 of those, right? 1 you hunt, 2 you don't.
Yeah.
What you plant in those food plots and what you plant in a destination field are totally separate, right?
Yeah, that's what we did
So
down camp for like what your thing. We got the clover field. That's our destination plot, our clover, and I frost seed it every year to keep it
yep,
clover. And that's what we're working on. Our biggest field is our destination plot. My dad's field, if you walked up to the top, that's a shot plot. That's only like a quarter, maybe almost
yeah,
a half acre. That's a shot plot because that's in the woods.
yep,
Like, but there's breaks in it with some funnels. So that's the shot plot, destination plot, and then we have a couple other more like bigger shot plots, and that's all we do, and it's in the center of our property.
yeah,
And I know we talked about that too, about maybe putting some of them on the outskirts of the property
yeah,
as well, but we haven't done that yet because we just don't have the time or the
yeah,
funds to do that. So we're
yep,
doing good with your, with what we're seeing. I got 3 really nice bucks right now down there on my dad's shot plot. I'm hoping
good.
our just our season starts tomorrow morning,
Oh wow, yep,
and I'm not even going out. Darren's, what's up? But next week I'm gonna have my son down, and we're gonna go down Saturday afternoon. We're gonna hunt the evening,
yeah,
and you can hunt Sundays now in Ohio or in PA. So,
oh yeah, wow,
and I don't think I'm gonna take him up to the shot plot because they're in our shot plots in the morning as well. You know what I mean? Or they come by late going to bedding. So
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I want to check in more. Let's just
Yeah.
get right into the early
Yeah.
season. Why don't we just get right into the
Yeah.
early season hunting and setups, and then because we're sort of getting into that right now.
Yep.
Like I haven't hunted. I could hunt my stand 3 weeks ago here in 2B. It's like a section,
Mm-hmm.
a deer section. But I was allowed to hunt it 3 weeks ago, and I never stepped foot in there yet until like second week of October. I'm gonna go do it. You know,
Yeah.
like, but I'm really itching, and I told you that before. Like this Sunday morning, I want to go, but I know the mornings with early season. How do you feel? Now we're gonna go right into it. How do you feel
Yep.
about morning sits, early season?
Well, so the rule of thumb is, right,
Hey Phil.
no AM hunts early season, but there's some that so that's the mindset, right? And
Mm-hmm.
then if you work off a worst case scenario, you can always implement best case scenarios, right? So no AM hunts early season, but what is early season? We open up Kentucky. We open up the second Saturday or the first Saturday of September.
Yeah, you're done
So my
already.
early season is early, right?
Yeah.
Your Michigan or Pennsylvania's early season might be October. Well, the farther north you go, right?
Mm-hmm.
The farther north you go, the more of a chance that you may have that you can implement a morning hunt. But well, the way I always tell folks is I'm not. Let's just use the Midwest in Michigan, Kentucky. Uh, let's just say date wise, I try to make like early season pre-rut and rut strategies not date specific because my
Mm-hmm.
clientele is all over the country. But like where we're both at north, I'm not focusing on AM hunts until like the 27th of October. I
Halloween week.
mean, not saying that I won't, not saying that I haven't, not
Mm-hmm.
saying that you can't. I'm just
Mm-hmm.
saying I don't do that and with that mindset unless something drastically changes. So I'll share something with you. My farm, for example, here in central Kentucky, my farm's wow date, right? Happens every year, is October 11th. If if I now 5 years, right?
Mm-hmm.
Three, I think I could have hunted. I think I've hunted twice, but we've had cold fronts come in on October 11th. Now Kentucky cold front might be different than a Michigan cold front or
Yeah.
PA cold front, right? But I mean, so it's a drastic change, right? But my farm, there's a lot that's tied to that: doe
Mm-hmm.
heats, cycles, pre-rut strategies, all that stuff, right? But um, that's the day that I watch, right? So it could be the 13th this year, it could be the 15th, it could be on the 11th, whatever that cold front is.
Yeah.
It could trigger something that, but you have to me, right? Is you have to look at that as early season. Let's just say
Mm-hmm.
early season until them that cold front or multiple back to back to back cold fronts happen, right? Those deer, contrary to a lot of belief, right, are so far ahead of you, and then you throw a full moon in like we got right now. They're
Mm-hmm.
so far ahead of you going back into a bedding area, right? Because it's not totally fragmented yet.
Mm-hmm.
They're so far ahead of you, the chances of you blowing something out are way good.
Mm-hmm.
The other part of that is you're burning sits, you're burning yourself out, you're burning your farm out because you're burning that sit out, but you're probably burning out or wasting, potentially ruining a good PM sit where you could get in undetected, the cheeks hunt, right?
Mm-hmm.
If I would have hunted that deer, I've got daylight video of him on a water hole 100 yards from there.
Yeah.
The right wind, I could have went in and hunted him.
I want to add something to that too. You're also burning the days hunts allowed by your wife.
Yeah,
Okay,
exactly.
you only
Yeah,
get
yeah,
so many of them, so you don't want to do this. You want your percentage
yeah,
to be higher, so you want to use them
yeah.
days later. They're like vacation days at work
That's right.
with
I
your
like
wife.
that
You gotta,
analogy.
you know what I mean. You
Yeah.
gotta pick and choose your days. That,
Well, I'll share something with you, Ted, and I think can help a lot of folks out. Is this? I try to educate folks as your outlook is right, whether you're doing habitat improvement or not. Your
hmm
your outlook is to tweak your stand assemblage first and foremost. Figure that out. Every property is different. Every
hmm
property has hurdles, but figure that out to a point that your 2% or your 5% common stand sit right goes to 80.
hmm
So right now, and this is not just because of this happened. I mean, I can tell you multiple deer that I've had, or multiple deer of clients. It's usually about 6 or 7 sit 5, 6 or 7 for an opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
And so why is that? Is because you've checked yourself up. Usually, though, I can honestly tell you the 5 day or the 7 days that I hunted, there was only one day, and the reason I did it is because he daylighted and I knew he was there, and the chances of it happening, but it was 80 some degrees.
Mm-hmm.
Now looking at it, I probably wouldn't have hunted that day,
Gotcha.
but sit number 7 is when I harvested cheeks.
Mm-hmm.
Bus behind me, Atlas right there. Atlas was number 3 sits. Bus, I missed him at 27 yards on hunt 6, and then I ended up shooting him with my gun, right? So, I mean, there's a lot of strategy behind it. I don't know if
Yeah.
it's Murphy's Law. There's so much tied to that. But what it does is it checks you up. Like, you start thinking, okay, am I really hunting the best days that the good Lord is giving me to make this happen?
Mm-hmm.
Because the common way of hunting, and we're all guilty of it, right?
Yeah.
The common way of hunting is my favorite stand syndrome, AM and PM, not knowing the difference between an AM and PM sit, and just hunting to hunt. I love
Yeah.
hunting just as much as everybody, right? But I
Mm-hmm.
share this with my clients is if it's not an 80% opportunity, I'm watching college football.
Mm-hmm. No,
I
I
mean,
got. Hey,
because
Fish.
there's going to be an 80% day, and you got to have a day available to hunt that. Like you said, I don't have that. I'm a
Mm-hmm.
single guy, right? But
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
if I was that guy years ago, and
Mm-hmm.
you gotta take that into consideration, right? You got
Yeah.
kids and people are busy, and if you plan ahead, I'm a huge believer of the weather fronts and looking ahead. And now with the way that the algorithms are and looking out 10 days, 14 days, I mean, you can't always get it right, but boy,
Yeah.
you can really save a good hunt uh,
Yeah.
by looking out and being patient, right?
Yeah, for sure. And you know what I'm always researching. I'm always doing
Mhm.
new things. I'm always trying to get ahead of the game. We can never get ahead of the deer too much, but we could always learn. We're always learning. And
Yep.
we've had that drought this year in PA, and a lot of the country has had a drought. And my mock scrapes go up early in August. Well, July, but not this year. They were up in August,
Yep.
and you could see it during that drought time, like the deer movement was minimal. Okay, on my cameras and everything, but we had a little bit of a cold front slash the rain. And
Mhm.
that week, my cameras lit up like you wouldn't believe. Okay,
Yep.
and I just refer that, and I'm trying to tell people, uh, you know, try to tell people that just by doing that, like if you think it's like a common sense type deal,
Mhm.
if you take the very technical stuff out of hunting and you go back to the how do I want to say, like
Grassroots or the obvious.
the
Yeah.
obvious,
Yep.
okay? So say that was a hunting scenario, okay? And I hunted, hunting season was a month ago, and I hunted all those days, first day, all those days I was hunting. And then all of a sudden, that 80% sort of, when that cool front came in with the rain, those
Yep.
deer were moving. They loved it. They were out feeding. They were in the rain. It was
Yep.
midday. They were walking around because they weren't moving. So if you would
Yeah.
see that and see there's rain coming, a change in the weather that week, don't hunt those days leading up to it. Hunt post,
Yeah, you're right. It
pre and
doesn't always
post.
have to be a cold front, right? It just
No,
has to be a change.
a change
Exactly.
in itself.
Yep.
And I saw that on my cameras, and that's where
Mhm.
I picked up something. Okay, so now this year I haven't hunted. I could hunt 3 weeks ago. I haven't hunted. Now I used to work night turn 3 to 11:30,
Oh yeah.
so my hunting was all mornings,
Yep.
and I had to hunt when I could. So I'd be down in the tree stand every morning hunting, 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 and it
Mhm.
never really happened until a certain thing. The rut kicked in, deer were moving differently. They were off the food patterns. They were moving into the rutting action, to pre-rut and all that. Halloween, then
Mhm.
then you started seeing that action. If you put two and two together over the years, yeah, I hunted all early season, and I hunted mornings and evenings and everything.
Yeah.
Wasn't too successful in that. Last year I shot one on October 16th, but that
Yeah.
was just because I didn't have much time. I wanted to get my son a deer. I didn't have much time in Ohio.
Yeah.
But if you put
Well,
all that together, that just
yeah.
a change of something
Mhm.
could be your best day to hunt.
Well, you opened a segue there. I think something really important to touch on
Mm-hmm.
is don't 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 how do I say this? Don't lose an opportunity either, though. Like,
Mm-hmm.
you have to know your deer, right?
Yeah.
Know your farm.
Mm-hmm.
Like my day's October 11th, right? My
Mm-hmm.
favorite day in the world. I wish I could hunt 4 states, October 27th. There's a lot
Mm-hmm.
of stuff that goes with that, but that's my day, right? But what I'm saying is Cheeks is a perfect example. I mean, there's 3 bucks here on the farms, here. My neighbor's on one that probably shouldn't be hunted until the pre-rut and rut because the chances
Yeah.
of running into them in daylight just because your chances are lower.
Mm-hmm.
Mornings obviously are out on those
Mm-hmm.
deer, but then you got somebody like Cheeks, right? That deer's a homebody. He's
Mm-hmm.
getting himself in trouble. He's older. He's very consistent. All of a sudden, the game plan switches a little bit, right? Like
Yeah.
that spot I was telling you, I built specifically for him. I
Yeah.
I didn't harvest him out of that. I harvested him 100 yards from it because of the wind. But the
Yep.
morning or the night before I harvested him, where I harvested him, he was there daylighting in the spot I built for him. You know what I
Right.
mean? So you got to get real personal with who you're hunting. Like,
Yeah.
if you think that I was going to go in and make a pre-rut strategy to harvest Cheeks, good luck.
Yeah.
My goal, my go-to with him, get him harvested early because he's vulnerable.
Yeah.
Make it happen.
Yeah.
But I didn't implement any AM hunts on him. So a lot of it just goes back to
Knowing your deer, your
knowing your
herd,
deer,
knowing the
knowing
land.
your limitations, knowing your property. If you're going to hunt a morning, I guess the first thing that I would say, right, is how do you make that determination?
Yeah.
One is the deer you're targeting. Is he huntable in the morning, right? Two, is your access and your exit plan 110% bulletproof?
Yeah.
Right. If you ask yourself, I'm gonna go in the morning. I released that video not too long ago. If this is your view,
Yep. Yeah.
if you're sitting on a food plot in the
You're sitting
morning,
there in the doe or in there. Yeah. Yeah.
that's probably the check mark. Don't do that. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Not that I'm saying you can't see a food plot, but you should be seeing something else other than a food plot. Never my strategy or my saying, right, with my clients is you should never look out the front of your tree stand or your box blind to a food plot.
Yeah.
Maybe that spot's good, but maybe it's got to be turned 180 degrees so you're looking into the timber and looking out your left window to that food plot or something, right? Now a shot plot, totally different deal,
Yeah.
right? A bypass or a one bite stop, totally different deal. But
Yep.
so I guess where I was going with that is don't overlook, don't be stupid,
Yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
You got to know the deer. Um, but example would be right if I picked up a lease, looking back at my past,
Mm-hmm.
hunting areas, like if I didn't know, I wouldn't go.
Yeah. Yeah. Because it only takes one chance of blowing a big buck out there.
Exactly.
6.5-year-old deer, blow him out. He ain't coming back.
No, wait until, um, one of my theories is right, especially with trail cameras today, the goods and the bads of trail cameras. But one of the things is I let him make a mistake. Let him
Yeah.
play his cards. Now you got some information to go off from. This is
Mm-hmm.
the first year you're hunting him, like a lease or something, let's say,
Yeah.
right? Let him make a mistake. Then now you can put some data together. Now he's in trouble, and then you just take it from there. Or like Cheeks, I could tell you right now, and I should do this because shockingly, I think that he daylighted on that same shot plot a year ago to the day I shot him.
Oh
That's
wow.
no joke.
Yeah.
So uh, if you get a year's worth of history, even if it's not a mature buck, maybe it's a 3.5-year-old. Now he's 4.5. You're targeting, or whatever the case is. Don't overlook that power of, if that deer wasn't there and you do have history with a deer and you're going to target him and all of a sudden he was daylighting in the pre-rut but you don't have any early season strategies, don't hunt the deer in the early season.
Yeah.
Wait till
Yep.
he's pre-rut,
Well, here's
right?
the thing too that I wanted to run past you since we're on it. My
Yep.
buddy's in Ohio right now hunting. He took this
Oh
week
yeah.
off last
Great.
week. 80 degrees. He took off because I passed up a buck 3 years ago. I have it on. I have my video out on that. I passed him up, and now he is a monster. Okay, we call him
Yep.
Goliath, and he was coming in. He got him on camera and everything, but there is soybeans still standing and corn in between where he's at. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
We feel that he's in a soybean field, but they're cutting it this weekend now. My buddy, I just talked to him. They're cutting it this weekend. I was like, oh man, I wish you would have known when they were cutting it. You could have taken this week off. He wanted to get him early. Well, he
Yeah.
has seen 0 bucks over 2 years old so far. Like since he's been down there all week, he hasn't seen a mature buck. There is a buck called Turkey Foot, and he sort of did what you were talking about. He got real good, then he went downhill. Now he's good again, but he's freaky
Yep.
weird. And they got the sheds from him. But now today they're starting to cut the soybean down.
Oh,
Okay,
yep.
those deer are in that soybean. They're not moving. Okay,
Yep.
so he's on a corn plot. He dumped corn and all that stuff, but he's not seeing deer all week. He's not seeing deer.
Yeah. Well, one of the things I would encourage him not to do, like everybody
Hmm.
else would do,
Yeah.
there's a video coming. I do it every year.
Hmm.
Don't chase the chase. Don't take that corn pile
And move it.
and or your movement. Don't grab your stand. Don't grab your food. No, there's a couple of situations there, but
Yeah.
what most people do, right? The sad part is they take that and okay, all the deer went to the oaks, the
So
magical bean, right?
we're
The
gonna
oaks
move
stole all my deer,
Yep.
and they go to the oaks. Well, guess why they're in the oaks? The oaks are there because it's just like you put, a ton of corn on the ground for them. Uh, the corn, right, is way more valuable, way more palatable, way more nutritious than an acorn is.
Everybody thinks that an acorn is so much more palatable than corn, and I'm like,
No,
they
the
like
reason they're
it.
there
They're
is
not
because they get
sweeter. They're not.
pushed into that.
Yeah, they're
Yeah.
not sweeter. They're not more
No.
nutritious. I mean, a corn I think is higher in nutritional value than an
Oh
acorn.
yeah.
Correct.
What
Correct.
by
And you
far?
just
Yeah,
you
it
just
is.
did that this week. You just did that this
Yep.
morning. I think that's the one
Yep.
that come out this morning.
Yeah.
Um,
So I
so
wouldn't
you
do it.
hit on
Don't.
that.
Yeah. Don't chase that. Right. Don't
Hmm.
chase that in there because what you're gonna do is there's a time to do that. Right.
Hmm.
Early season is not that time. So like this comes with knowing a property, right, and maybe lease property is something different, but a new lease property or something like that, right, or permission property. But I can honestly tell you, none of my cameras move.
Yeah.
They don't move.
Yeah.
My
Yeah.
farm is set up that my cameras are on. I do have cameras on my feeders.
Hmm.
I have cameras on my shot plots, water holes. Obviously, this year um, I've got like 4 stands I don't have a camera at, which that's uncommon for me because I took 20 cameras and just spread them out over my properties just to kind of bring that the hunt back a little bit into certain areas.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know how I feel about it yet, but anyway, it's like what's going on at that stand, right?
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is a lot of folks want to do that, right? They grab that intel because we all want that fast intel in the
Hmm.
world we live in, and they go to the oaks, right? Well, then all of a sudden, guess what? Now they're not in the oaks. Why is it? Because you blew them out of there too.
Hmm.
So if he's in a situation that he's had, one of the biggest things I can tell you is if that's a spot that he's hunted
Hmm.
before, have him take a minute, go back to those trail camera pictures you had of that deer. And if that deer wasn't daylighting, let's say he didn't daylight for another 2 weeks, I'd go home.
Yeah. No, I got
Leave
it
it
because
there,
you know what
let
he's
it cook.
doing.
Yep.
He has a stand in the acorns. So
Yep.
he didn't move it, but he moves positions. Now he's
Yep.
hunting the acorns
Yep.
because that's a preferred food source.
Yep.
But he was hunting the corn. He has multiple stands set up for different situations and wood
Yep.
and all that. I mean, great hunter. The guy is
Yep.
knowledgeable. I mean, he's awesome. He's got deer on his wall like you wouldn't believe. You know what I
Yep.
mean? But he ain't seen a deer, so he moved from his bait station where he was
Yep.
getting pictures. He moved into the acorns, thinking that those
Yep.
deer want the acorns besides the corn or the soybeans. Now, well, the
Yep.
soybeans are getting cut, so he's figuring the acorns are the next
Yep.
source. And he's seen some small bucks in there. Don't get me wrong,
Yep.
but nothing to lift your bow off the hook for yet.
Well,
You
and
know
it's
what I
that one of those things, right? You look at your strategy, like, can you get into them oaks, and can you get out without making a huge footprint?
mean? Yeah. And he
But
does. He
there you
does
go
all that.
again.
He does take them. He does take
Yeah.
precautions. So
Well,
he's a really good
even at
hunter.
that though, I mean, even that though, Ted is um that's just a common way of hunting, right? But to
Yeah.
me, I don't. My oaks are the perfect property,
Uh
right?
huh.
If I could buy a property, everybody wants property with oaks and water on it.
Yeah.
I want a property with no oaks, very few oaks, and no water.
Yeah.
And the reason is I'm going to put my water where I want it, in my 300-gallon tanks. It's a huge deal. I'd have a water hole way before I have a food plot, if you know. And then if you had to plant, I would plant oak trees if you're doing habitat improvements after you get your property set up on your transition and spread them around the farm. And the reason is you can make movement, because the worst thing you can do is, maybe that situation's happening on yours, is you have a savanna, if you will, right? Whether you built that area or not, but it's an oak producer. Ohio is notorious for that, and PA, the big hardwood ridges. I mean, they're, a lot of the like marketing timber, right, comes into that, where they market or manage for big beautiful timber.
Yeah.
Well, these trees are blowing up with acorns, right, dropping all over the place, and so that's the problem. You're fighting that volume of food, right? But I would rather have them scattered along my transition, or like 2 acres of them, so it's just a destination food plot is what it is, right?
I got you.
But I would never. You couldn't. Trying to think of a situation right now. I mean, I'm a month this week into season, and my cameras won't change from now until January 1st. I don't move them, and the reason for that is they're on the pattern. They're there for a reason. I'm getting my intel where I need it, but I know, like right now, for example, Ted, is I don't. You hear this word, right? This phrase that's kind of coined over the years, right? Like a rut stand, right?
Yes.
I've got stands that actually get a little better with the rut, and I don't hunt them until the rut. But I've got 12 stands on the home farm. I've got 12 licking branches. I've got 12 cameras on those. Not right now, but I mean, usually, right? A camera at every stand.
Yep.
I don't have 20 licking branches. I have them where you need to hunt them.
Yep.
But what I'm saying is, those deer cheeks, they're all on them licking branches through the early season, early season, pre-rut and rut, even into late season. So I don't have to chase.
Yeah. No, I think I know what you're getting at. You're building a database, basically, for your deer on your farm. You have all your cameras that don't move, and then you can go back in history and say, this is the time this deer moved. This is the time this deer moved in the season. And you're building your own database, basically.
Well, yeah, but something to think about. I wouldn't. There's probably 2 cameras right now that I can think of that are in a different location from where I first initially. And my farm wasn't built the first 2 years, right? I was building it, but it wasn't finished. Like, it's not finished now, but it's way more than what it was. But they didn't move.
Yeah.
And the reason is that spot for a reason. You have to determine when to hunt it, right? Yeah. It's not
like a terrain feature or some funnel or pinch points or saddle or. So if you have that, it's now you determine the deer will be there. It's just when will they be there and when should I be there?
Yep. Yeah, and I think one thing to really watch is that's where the world that we live in, right? Box blinds, cell cameras, all great. I use them too. The problem with it is that cell camera and that box blind gets folks into a lot of trouble, because I can lock myself in a box blind, and it doesn't have to be the right wind, and this darn trail camera showing me that this buck's here every day, and I got the latest and greatest scent control in the world, and yada yada yada, and I'm going to go there. My properties are set up that if it's not good for me, it's not good for him. He's not there. There's a situation like on a shot plot or a water hole where it's a piece of their everyday puzzle, right? Where they have to go there. So I do get some deer on stand locations during daylight, let's say, that I can't hunt it.
Yeah.
But 100 yards from there, 200 yards from there, there's a stand that I can hunt him, that I can hunt, and he's going to get himself in trouble because he's going past that.
He won't know you're there. Like that location, he would know you're there, but the other locations, you can ambush him. And
correct. Yeah. The perfect farm, right, is a farm that, and some folks have this, the perfect farm is if you're on the perimeter of your, first and foremost, perimeter, and then we talk about maybe having internal access. But if you bought a property and you were looking at a property and you can go down a fence row, and the terrain feature, if you got any topography at all, the first spot is the transition or the movement is below you. You go 200 yards, it's above you. You go another 200 yards, it's below you. What that does, it opens the door for you for AM and PM strategies. the downside that is a lot of farms I get to, just natively just how properties are broke apart, right? You might go a mile on your fence row, half a mile on a fence row, and the
There's
deer are
no
all
terrain
above you.
difference. Yeah,
Yeah,
gotcha.
it's all above you. Well, guess what? Unless you have a leeward opportunity, you're hunting them deer below that line of travel. Don't don't create something that's never going to be. So promote it that you're hunting it below them, and you hunt it. Your access, right? Your access always determines your stand location and when to hunt it. So in other words, if you're on your when you go to hang a stand, what I do, this is
Mm-hmm.
going back to dating, myself into the, guiding world or now into this. If I
Mm-hmm.
go down a fence row, I'm on the east side of my fence row. I know that's a west wind stand. I don't go down the fence row and find a stand and then figure out which wind to hunt it on.
Yeah.
I already know which wind it is because my access dictated what that is.
Yes.
So I get a
You're
lot of
going. You're
folks
like
saying why.
rewinding the script. You're going like sort of backward, like but a
Yeah.
normal. I don't want to say normal hunter. I want to say a hunter will get in and go, "Oh, I like this stand.
Yep.
Okay, I like that tree right there. What's the wind doing? Oh, I can't hunt this on the east wind. I have to hunt it on a west wind. You know. So then
Well,
that.
that'd be the best case scenario though, Ted. What usually happens is they find the spot
Yeah.
and then they look for the tree to make that spot good for that wind.
Mm-hmm.
The problem with it is that is usually on the wrong side of your access. So your stand in a perfect world, right? It should
Mm-hmm.
always be your access,
Yep.
your stand location, your camera, your licking branch, transition, and deer only.
Yeah.
If you
Gotcha.
go into a spot and you go past the stand and you have to hunt what you hunt. You're trying
You're
to hunt
hunting what you
movement of what
walk.
you just walked through.
You want to hunt what you
Yeah,
don't
correct,
access. You want to hunt
correct.
the non-accessible
Yep,
what you're doing, and
yep.
that's
So,
exactly
like I
how that
said,
new property is with me today that I walked. It's awesome. I
yeah,
can't wait to get the intel from it.
yeah. And sometimes you get lucky, like that spot you were saying, right? You get there.
Mhm.
This is my access. That's the
Mhm.
spot I got to hunt. That's the pinch that I've got to hunt. That's the funnel that I got to hunt. And guess what? It's a west wind. I can hunt it on a west wind. Great.
Yep.
Most people though find that spot and then go across the line of travel.
Mhm.
If you ever have to cut the native line of travel, whether it's a promoted line of travel, a transition
Mhm.
contour, whatever, right? If you cross that,
You're already in the hole.
your alarm should go off like, wait a minute,
Mhm.
is this worth it? Like I
Yep.
said, the only time I cross the line of travel, and this, I get called out on this all the time, but I can honestly tell you if my clients are doing what I recommend or I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing on my farm,
Mhm.
I will never cut that line of travel. It just doesn't happen,
Yeah.
right? So, like for example, you're on your east side of your let's go the other way around. You're going down your west fence row. Well, maybe some folks don't even go down their west fence row because they don't need any east wind stands. Well,
Mhm.
I do because what if you need an east wind stand?
Mhm.
But if that east wind stand isn't connected to your west wind stand, your farm's not connected. It's
Gotcha.
got to be there whether you never hunt it. I've got 4 stands on the farm. Brad Harper last year is the first gentleman to be on one of the stands on the best stand on my entire farm. Brad's the first one to hunt it last year
It's amazing.
because I needed the right wind and it just didn't present itself. I
But it
mean, and
was
it's one
there.
of the best.
But it was an option for you. You had
Yeah,
it
and
as an
it's
option.
connected. If I didn't have it, that piece of the puzzle wouldn't be connected to the rest of the farm, right? That licking
Mhm.
branch wouldn't be there. That bedding area wouldn't be there. It wouldn't be
Yep.
there. I might never hunt it,
Yeah.
but when I do have an opportunity to hunt it, it's there.
Yep.
Or the deer are reading it going to another spot that I can hunt.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Yeah, and that's like it's funny you say that today because I fell into that today and I'm like I don't want to cross over they're coming through that pinch. I don't want to
Hmm.
cross it through that travel to the next flat. You know what I mean? I wanted to stay on the edge of
Yep.
that bowl, that gully, stay back. Now, whatever passes behind me, I can't help that. You're going to get some straggler deer going, but the
Hmm.
majority are coming from my right on the angle where my wind will be blowing out this way. So them deer are coming from bedding to those
Yeah.
acorns, and I'll only hunt
Yep.
that probably in the evening. Now in the rut, I may go out there and hunt from morning till night, not get out of my stand.
Hmm.
But that's an evening hunt for me, an evening spot, and
Yep.
everything fell into pieces where I hardly crossed a deer path
Yeah. So
going in.
your best early season stand.
Yeah.
right? That's why you got to know the difference between AM and PM and early season and a pre-rut stand. That'll help you determine where to go, right?
Mm-hmm.
Your AM, if you can find a PM sit with water.
Mm-hmm.
So is that a southwest wind? Is it a west wind? Is it east wind? Whatever that is, that access determined, right? But if you can find an early season PM sit that you can hunt on water,
Bingo.
yeah, that's my spot, right?
Okay.
So the strategy within a week or 2 weeks here starts changing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because what you're doing early season, Ted, is that what I always like to share with folks is what you're doing early season is you're in. I wouldn't only bank on this, but what happens is you're hunting more of an inline movement. You're hunting more of a from bed to food,
Yes. Straight bang bang. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
you're hunting a lot of deer. Like your bucks could potentially beat your does to food early
Yeah.
season, right?
Mm-hmm.
Slowly or real quick that changes. So what happens is I see a lot of folks is staying in those same early season spots because that trail's there. Maybe you
Mm-hmm.
catch some midnight movement, whatever. But what you got to look at though is take advantage of it now, because about 2 weeks from now that strategy is going to have to change, because what
Yep.
happens is that buck is going to go where those does are at, not where they were. So in other words, there's no reason for him to go out to a food source where them does are already back in bedding. So here you are 2 weeks from now, right, sitting in that tree stand that was hot early season, and now you need to move because you need to have something else that's behind doe bedding, because he's never getting there to scent check those does here within a
Gotcha.
couple of weeks. So that's
Yep.
how I determine, right, like AM versus PM, early season versus pre-rut, or rut. So yes, always, man, whether you're implementing it or it's on a farm naturally or whatever the case is, if you can find an early season PM sit. So in other words, if you have contour, you're below it.
Mm-hmm.
PM sit with water.
Good
That's the one to
stuff.
find.
Really? And you like
Yep.
the PM because thermals and you said lower because thermals are dropping in the evening? Is that why
Yeah,
you
so
picked
like your
that?
situation, what I would do, right, is you've kind of jumped the hurdles. Okay, this is the pinch, this is my access,
So my
this is my
thermals may be
stand.
going down into that gully.
Yeah, if it's anything more than like a 10-degree fall,
Mm-hmm.
unless it's like a wide, I call it a wide mouth bottom, right? Like a situation where your thermals don't pull, or maybe they're dropping, but then the creek shelf goes the other way
Yeah.
from where the deer are coming.
Mm-hmm.
But if it's down below you, you can't hire enough excavation equipment, right, to change that.
Okay.
There, so you got two options. You either cut it,
Mm-hmm.
go to the other side of it, and you better hope you have a pond or something to blow it into, or you don't cut it at all, and that spot is now AM only. So that's where people get themselves into trouble. Like
I see.
like
They
your
keep that
situation,
same stand.
I'm not
No,
saying that's your problem. I'm just saying,
no, I
like,
got you.
this is the stand.
What makes you think now, like, that where I'm at, I'm on that pinch up top,
Yep.
but I have that deep gully that goes down, and then there's a cross, like another, I want to say, what do they call that? A coulee or like
Yep.
a saddle.
Yep.
I'm on a point. There's 2 points. There's a point that comes out to my right, come out to my right, and it goes around and goes to another point. So I
Yep.
am on the back edge of, I'm going to say, the rim of the bowl, okay?
Yeah.
And if in the AM, I could see the PM thermals definitely
Yep.
going down in there.
Yep.
So if they're
Well,
coming out of that, I'm banking on them coming from my right, but I know what you're saying. So if it's going down in there, I should get down in there on the
yeah.
other side of that. So it
Well,
blows.
if you're gonna cross it, right, you gotta,
Mm-hmm.
to get your thermals right.
Yep.
You're kind of going against the grain a
Going
little bit
against.
there, because you got to
Yep.
cross it, right?
Cross it.
But on
Yeah.
the other hand, if you do cross it, you've got to know where that thermals will always trump the wind. Another heated topic, right?
Yeah.
But
Yep.
thermals
You
always
can't
trump the
stop
wind.
that. You can't change thermals. You can always set up on wind, but you can't set up on
Yep,
thermals.
thermals sink in the PM and they raise in the morning, but they don't always raise in the PM, and they don't always set first, so you
Mm-hmm.
got to understand your property. Like, where's your sun getting blocked? Is I've got one back here on the, home farm, where I've got an east and west ridge, and when the sun comes up in the morning, my thermals actually drop, don't raise. They drop for an
Yep.
hour before they raise. I
And
can
that'll be
watch
an
it on the
old.
bank. I can watch the thermals settle, all the dust in the air and everything.
Yeah.
Luckily, I'm in a gun. I only hunt that spot in a gun blind from 200 yards away, but I'm looking at it, and all your dust and dander
It's just
is
settling.
is sinking, and all of a sudden, your sun gets down to or up to a point where it heats that slope back up, and then you can watch it race again. So you got to really know your spot, right? But the rule of thumb is to keep yourself out of trouble is to always make sure you're below the line of travel in the PM, and you have to know where you're dumping that wind into. I would never, if your situation there, and we're just using yours as an example, right? But if you
that's
cut
good.
that spot, and if you're going to dump wind that even, that wind is going to drop down and it's into the core of the property, that's not a PM sit. I'm hunting at an AM and AM only, because the only way I'm cutting that and getting down below it is if I'm dumping that onto the neighbors or a
The neighbor,
a
no,
pond or a no deer area.
yep.
Or if I can't, I'm not going across it.
No, I got you. Yeah, and that's gonna have me thinking now when I get out there. I gotta check the thermals. I gotta
Yeah.
definitely
So
check the
here we
thermals.
go again, right? I would never intentionally do this, and the guys at Scent Thief are, it's kind of a joke, but between
Uh-huh.
us, like, give it 2 or 3 years and you'll be hunting on the wrong wind. I don't do that because, one, I don't believe in doing that. I don't want anybody to get themselves in trouble, but I don't do that because my farm is set up that so, in my farms that I design are set up that if it's good for me, it's good for the deer. So it puts us there at the same time. So in other words, I would never have to sit in a PM sit. I'd never have to sit there in the morning and trying to cheat it because the deer can't read all the habitat leading to that area. But in a situation like yours where it's a lease, you're
Hmm.
not going to overhunt it. Your hands are tied. Like, what do you do?
Yeah.
Permission property or lease. You can't manipulate the habitat. It is what it is. What I would do is if you got to hunt that from above and you think that, like you said, don't take a puffer, take
Hmm.
milkweed
Yeah. Let it
and really
drop.
get familiar with that.
Yep.
Get
And that's what
really
I'm gonna do.
familiar with
I'm
that. And
doing
then,
that. Yeah, for
yeah,
sure.
and then what I do is I get that Scent Thief. I'm telling you, that's another partner. I don't go to the woods without it. There's 4 cans of it right here on the
Hmm.
shelf. They've got the scent wafer.
Yeah.
It goes against everything. We're not trying to cover up scent. We're actually trying to get them to smell it. It shuts their affilium down.
Yeah.
That's the only way I would hunt it. I'd hang a wafer in that front window, or if you're in a blind or
In
that
the
tree stand,
can.
or whatever the case is. So you're actually saturating that,
Hmm.
more of a.
I have ozonics too. What do you think about ozonics?
Well, the downside of ozonics is
Because I can smell
you.
it. Can't the deer smell it?
Well, the down ozonics works,
Hmm.
but I'll share something with you. There's a reason that I've got a good friend of mine that's retired from a university in Michigan, and he'll be the first one to tell you there's a reason that they put ozonics in a room when something happens, or puke or whatever the
Hmm.
case is, right, or cleaning up something,
Yeah.
and they shut the door and they don't allow anybody in it.
Yep.
There's a reason, because you're
Yep.
not supposed to be locked in the box blind with that stuff blowing on you.
It's
So
dangerous.
I'm not saying that it is. I'm not saying that it's not. I'm saying that I'm not that guy. But with like Scent Thief, you're kind of defeating the purpose because you're eliminating the Scent Thief. So they can't be. These can't work together. Now,
No, I
a
got you.
normal scent cover up spray, like, there's a lot of good products,
I've
Dead
used the
Downwind,
limit
and a
shield. I
bunch of
use the
stuff.
limit
Limit
shield a
Shield,
lot.
yep, Limit
Yeah.
Shield's great, but you're not ruining your Limit Shield by using a
Ozonics.
ozonics.
Hmm.
Now, if you use Scent Thief, you're actually ruining it by using ozonics.
Yeah, because
So,
it's killing that
correct.
the active ingredient in
Yep.
the scent thief. So
Yeah,
you're
they work, but
you're buying two things, but only one's working. So you're wasting your money, or you're defeating the purpose of having both of them.
yeah, well, it goes back, Ted, as it goes back to what we talked about before with like the food plot and the box blind thing. That's where ozonics hit the market, right? And not
Hmm.
only ozonics the company, but ozonic machines. That's where it hit the deal. This deer's here on this food plot, on this water hole, whatever the case is. I got to hunt him, and the wind's not right. I'm gonna use this and get away with it. That's where that whole thing started.
Hmm.
If your property is set up, you
You don't
don't
have to
have to
worry
get
about it.
yourself in trouble.
Yep.
Um, you shouldn't be there anyway,
Yeah.
right? I use it like Scent Thief. I've got it to protect my butt, if you will, right? I got it to protect the downwind side of me.
Exactly.
If I used ozonics, which I don't, but if I did, that's why I would use it, is just to protect
And
my
I would have it
downwind side.
facing. I would have it facing the
Correct,
opposite way because you got to blanket your scent basically
just in
with that.
case. Yep,
Yeah. Yeah. And
yep.
I haven't really. only in the past maybe 5 or 6 years I've really hunted the wind, and I've really took the wind in
Yep.
consideration on my stands, and I've had a lot more success by doing
Yep.
that. I mean, it's just hands down. Like I never thought about it. I'd go in the woods. Okay, I'm gonna hunt it. Boom, boom. Sun
Yep.
comes up here, goes down there. I don't
Yep.
want my cameras facing the sun. I don't want to be facing the sun in the evening. I did all that, but I never really paid attention to the wind like I was supposed to. So
Well,
if there's one thing out of there, the wind, you can never, I don't think you're never going to fool a deer's nose 100%,
no.
but if you have the wind in your favor, that's about the best you can do.
Well, there's two pieces of that, right? The first hurdle is don't cheat the wind for yourself,
Hmm.
but you gotta see beyond the scent control. It's no different than using. Why do you use a scent in a mock scrape?
Hmm.
Why don't I waste my time? Because there's a theory there, right? Because
Hmm.
if you're in a spot, you have to know the wind, you have to know your thermal, which makes it good for you.
Yep.
The second part of that, Ted, is what is it doing for the deer?
Yep.
A lot of folks go to a spot. I go to a lot of tree stands with clients around the country, and it's a great spot.
Hmm.
Problem with it is it's not good for the deer.
Yeah,
There's
and why?
nothing that there's nothing for the deer to scent check there. He's actually you just like I and you probably heard me talk about this on a channel. Like if I go to a stand or new farm, or I'm going public ground or whatever, I carry my stuff in. This goes to So I'll give you a little quick story here.
Hmm.
When I was guiding in Illinois, when I was down in Pike County for 5 years, right? I would take my stuff with me, and when I first got there, I would take 12, 10 or 12 stands, however many stands I could fit in my truck,
Hmm.
and I would come back at noon or 3 o'clock in the afternoon, whatever the case was, right? And I'd have 10 stands. Advanced it 2 or 3 years. When I finally figured it out, I would go to there. I'd come back at noon and get 10 more stands. And the reason for that is when I get to that spot,
Hmm.
I'd already had kind of knowing where I'm going, right? Because of topographical, then it was all printed.
Yeah.
But I knew where that spot was, right? So I get there. Before I hang that stand, I go down and find out, okay, this is my point of impact. This is where I want my licking branch. This is where I plan on shooting this critter.
Hmm.
I set my stand down by the tree. Before I hang that stand, I go to that licking branch and I take a walk 200 yards each way from that point of impact.
Hmm.
And what you're doing is you're looking at the habitat. Okay, is it is if it's a PM sit, is all the habitat above that line of travel? And what you'll find is most of the time you go left or right, and what happens is the habitat might be 50% to the bad to the other side, so it makes it a better AM sit than a PM sit. Well, if you need it to be a PM sit, you just slide down until it makes it right for you and him,
Yeah.
and you only hunt at PM,
Yep.
or you deem it AM because there's better habitat below it. So when he's scent checking it in the thermals, he's scent checking all of that stuff coming out. So that's the next step, right? Is that once you put the wind good for you,
Yeah.
and you put the wind good for him, and you get in a pinch where he doesn't have a lot of options, now your success goes through the roof. Then we
Exactly.
go to being private landowners. If you're
Hmm.
tuning into this or watching this and you got a private landowner, or you have the ability, now we're talking 80 or 90% stand opportunities. And the reason for that is I can find the tree. I
Hmm.
know what the licking branch is. I can build the stuff to make it good for him and me.
Yeah.
Then that's a total game changer,
That's the
right?
whole thing. Yeah. That's
Yep.
now it's in your court. The ball's in your
Yep.
court. You can do what you need to do.
Yes, right. Yeah, but I
So.
would just recommend that to everybody, as I see
Yeah.
that a lot. Is it a lot of stands are good for us,
Hmm.
but is it good for him? So to finish that, right? If I went to that stand
Hmm.
and I went for that walk, 200 yards
What are you
each
looking
side.
for in that walk exactly? Like, what are you
So
looking for?
I'm on the usually, and that's a in-depth situation, but I'm on a contour feature. I'm looking for a pinch. I'm looking for something to put the odds in my favor. But what I'm looking for on that trail or line of travel or whatever that it is that sent me there, right? I'm looking for which side of that. So let's say you're leasing a property from Joe, and Joe just happened to have logging done, or Joe's buddy cuts firewood, right?
Hmm.
And they unintentionally just went in there and cut firewood. Well, they opened up a spot in a canopy that put better habitat there.
Hmm.
Well, if you're going to hunt it, be on the downwind side of it, right?
Yeah.
So if you're on the downwind side, does that mean AM or PM thermals above it, below it, whatever the case is? So I look for those situations like pre-rut strategy would be like what side of Ennis, I say that, but pre-rut strategies, you want to be on the downwind side of it, right? So let's say I go for a walk each way, and 50% or 75% of that stuff is on the right side.
Mm-hmm.
I know that my chances of that buck scent checking that area are better because it's good for him.
Yeah.
If it's not, if it's on my side, that when I need it on the opposite side. If it's on the downwind side of it,
Yep.
I back the tree stand up 50 yards. Now I'm on the back side of it.
Yeah. No, I got you. Yeah.
Or I slide down to a spot where he
I'm gonna
has
take that
to.
into consideration in this new spot when I'm up there because I didn't set my
Yep.
stand yet. I did
Yep.
make a scrape, but I thought I had it all figured out with that. But like my thermal's going down into that,
Yep.
I might have to cross that to get on the other side or
Yep.
get down below it a little bit. You know what I
Yep.
mean? So I
Yeah.
don't
If you
know.
got room there to slide, like I'm. So early season strategy, right?
Mm-hmm.
One thing you want to watch. This ties to why my cameras don't move.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of folks think that hunting the downwind side of bedding areas is just a pre-rut or rut strategy, and that is so far from the truth. And the reason for that is early season they actually use that for a security blanket. If you think about a deer, right, early season, not really thinking about the pre-rut and a rut, he doesn't know what are in those more dense or thick areas.
Mm-hmm.
So this is a doe or a buck, right? They don't know what's in them. The only way that you're gonna, it's just like you walking down your hallway, and if you got a dark room, you want to know what's there. You want to be on the right side of it. If their nose are our eyes, kind of thing, right? So I want to know what's in there. I got to be on the right side of it. It's no different to them early season. They have to smell that, so it's what I call a security blanket, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're still on the downwind side of it. They're still using their senses.
Yeah.
Well, the reason that my stands don't move and the reason that my deer don't leave as much as they do on a common property is because you're training them. Because when they go past that spot, whether you built it or not, whether Joe built it with a chainsaw or you built it with a chainsaw, right?
Yeah.
If you're on the downwind side of it, he's scent checking that every day as a security, what's in there.
Yeah.
Then we get into the pre-rut. Well, he knows that area is better habitat improved. So he's actually now he's hunting that area.
Yeah.
You're hunting him. He's hunting that area.
Yeah.
So it doesn't leave, right?
Yeah.
So there's some stands that I won't push back in. Like one of my best stands on the whole farm is a 45-minute walk from here because I got to get in the creek shelf and go down. You'd never catch me doing that early season
Mm-hmm.
because I don't do it during the pre-rut because I can't get to it, right? So I can't get there I could actually hunt that stand in the PM, believe it or not, but I can't get to it in the PM without blowing everything off the farm, right? So I got to wait. I got to penetrate in that much further as the season builds, right?
Okay.
So what I'm saying is, I think that just helps a lot of people understand, like, find the wind.
Mm-hmm.
Don't try to get caught into the latest gimmick and scent control, and that's where Scent Thief comes in because it's totally opposite of what we're doing, right? But make it good for you. But before you hunt it, before you decide what to do, make sure it's good for that deer. Because if it's not good for him, you can hunt it 30 days in a row. And if it's good for you and not good for him, he ain't going to be there.
Yep.
There's a spot.
There? He has to
There's
have
a spot
reason
100
to
yards, there's a spot 100 yards or 200 yards from there where he has to be there when you're able to hunt him. That's where you want to be.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, cool.
Yep.
Cool. All right, so now we got the early season and the setups done. Let's talk about like how you set up your mock scrapes, and then we'll go right into the EHD, and then we can wrap it up. But the mock scrapes, like what are you looking for? Tell me what you're looking for, and then I'm going to just give you my opinion on it. Or let me give you my opinion first and see if I'm correct on some things here.
Yep.
So my mock scrapes I'm looking for in the woods is first thing I'm looking at is terrain. If there's old scrapes in there, like where the bucks are going to be at, and one of the things that I look for is a buck's going to be in an area because doe are in the area. Okay, so I'm looking at, is there a group of does in that area for me to make a scrape for a buck that wants to come there because the does are there? So that's the first thing I'm looking at when I'm looking in an area like old scrapes, like old past scrapes or rubs and all that. I look for the scrapes, but I won't put a mock scrape up because I don't believe you can just go in the woods, pick a spot, put a mock scrape up, and it's going to be used. I think there has to be doe because it's a mating thing. You know, it's a communication thing, and like a community scrape, there's different ones. I think a community scrape, there's a mating scrape, you know, and then there's just your random a buck's walking around and sees another buck and scrapes a little bit and walks away, never to use that scrape again. So my mating scrapes for like the rut or pre-rut is going to be where I know there's doe in the area.
Mm-hmm.
Does that sound correct?
Well, so yes, right. If you are talking about a property that you don't have a way to build it, right?
Yes.
You can't just go. You can't expect to go out in a oak savanna or somewhere and you find your spot that you want to hunt
Mm-hmm.
and put a
Scrape.
licking branch there,
Mm-hmm.
mock scrape, and expect the deer to walk 200 yards and put his nose on it.
Yeah.
Now they will do some crazy stuff to get to that thing because it's a magnet, right? But you have to look for areas that are already traveled, pinch
Mm-hmm.
points where those deer are going through already.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, like rut focused mentality,
Mm-hmm.
if that's when you're hunting it. So like where I say that is my scrapes, I can't think of a scrape that I have on three of my farms, and the list goes on and on with my clients.
Mm-hmm.
I can honestly tell you that I know I don't have a scrape on my entire farm or mock scrape licking branch that a buck or the buck that I'm targeting has never been there until the pre-rut and a rut. That if that's what you're focusing on, you're missing a huge part of the puzzle because the scrape itself is just a fraction of a fraction of a fraction. The mock scrape, your vine, your licking branch, whether you're using I like white oak or vine, right?
Mm-hmm.
Grapevine.
I use a grapevine.
You that's where your information is.
Mm-hmm. That's
It's
all.
not the scrape, because your scrape is only probably urinated in probably 2 weeks of the season and probably maybe a dozen times,
Mm-hmm.
right? Your licking branch is the power. So what I would recommend doing, yes, if it's a lease deal, you pick it up and you can't hunt it until the pre-rut, your vacation, whatever the case is, right? Yes, then it's probably a hot spot for pre-rut and rut.
Mm-hmm.
If you are a landowner and you're building this,
Mm-hmm.
your goal is to have one at every tree stand because you're making a phone booth, you're making an information station, and if you can draw that, I've got 12 stands, I got
Mm-hmm.
12 licking branches. There's a reason for that because my transition connects all those together.
Yeah. So that buck,
So,
that same buck, could hit all those mock
yep.
scrapes.
Yeah, and I'll share this with you quick, but I always share this with everybody, my clients. But I've got a client in Western Kentucky that, bigger, like 300, 400 acre piece, 20 some tree stands. Yeah, this sounds cool, Josh, but man, I don't know. Everyone is so used to just actually, as I just say this, there was a video sent to me with a client from a big named, let's just call him a celebrity, that great Christian man, think the world of him. But he was talking in this about deer don't in big country and wooded country they don't they don't do the same thing twice. Like there's no routine. You can't make a deer do a routine. And I'm thinking, one of those things, hold my beer, because I wouldn't hunt it if it wasn't on a routine, right? So what I'm
Right.
saying is, I you go to those areas and you can actually make that an information station. That's why I don't like just tying vine or branches down and letting them do it, because if they break that,
Mm-hmm.
it's a piece of the puzzle that's gone. You have to have something there that's not fixed, but
Mm-hmm.
swings. I cut them I'm a pretty tall guy, but I cut them about my belt height so all the deer can use them. I wanted a rough bark thing that, all that preorbital can stay on there. Deer can
Mm-hmm.
talk to each other. All of a sudden, it's a 360 to 365 day a year
Communication.
community scrape. To
Mm-hmm.
me, all my scrapes are community scrapes, and that blows people's minds. Like,
Yeah.
why do you have a licking branch on a stand that you're going to hunt in September?
Yeah.
If that's if that licking branch,
Wasn't there.
something happens or a squirrel or whatever happens and that thing breaks in September, I go into panic mode
Yeah. Well, here's the
because
thing too, Josh. Real quick, what you're saying. I've already done the found a scrape in my area that I'm
yep,
hunting, and I've already cut the licking branch out of it, so they
yep,
stop using it, so they use mine.
perfect. That's
That's
exactly what I do. I don't go intentionally. I don't go intentionally in the fall looking for scrapes to cut
No,
down.
and cut down now.
But if I'm using one and I'm tracking the deer or it's preseason scouting and I find one that's not my licking branch, I cut it down and I lay it right in a scrape, shut it off.
Yeah,
There's no
that
better
shuts it
sign
down
than
quicker
saying
than
don't
that.
use this.
Yep,
And
that
you'll
cuts
be
it off.
yeah, exactly. You'll be shocked on how much more focus you put on your licking
I've
branches.
learned that.
And what it is like if you think about it, on a normal property that you go to, maybe there's two or three, community scrapes or whatever. Well, there might be two on you, there might be two on the neighbors, there might be two on Joe's down the road, whatever happens. This buck is moving between these. They're a scrape, right? They're a piece of the communication. Well, he breaks the branch on Joe's and he breaks the branch here. All of a sudden, it breaks his movement, right? If there's not habitat that's so strong that he has to go past it to check it, that mock scrape is his communication tool. And if it's gone, that's like I said, when mine break, I don't intentionally go in there. If I can get the buggy in there, or if I'm gonna hunt that or whatever, I get it fixed quick. Because if
Yeah.
you don't, you're pulling the drain plug on part of
Yep.
your
No, I
your
agree
your drain,
100% with
right?
that. Yep.
Yeah. So yes, and that ties into. I don't put anything on them, Ted. I really don't. And I know I've got a guy. If you're going to buy scents, then I know that you've had some success with stuff. But there's a gentleman that out of Michigan, Nature's Best, with Tom Whitty up there. It's pan collected urine
Yeah.
from the does. He makes a forehead gel. It's real deal, and I know there's many people doing that, but it's
Yeah.
real stuff. There's no artificial anything.
Yeah.
If you're going to use it, I would use that. But here's one thing I want to stress with folks on the mock scrape. They're great. Everybody should have one. I would never have a tree stand without one. But there's a problem. Where folks get themselves in trouble is when you get to your tree stand,
You go.
you need to get in the stand.
Yeah. Don't go doctor your mock scrape up and then get up there.
Correct. Because
I
that,
100%. I'm with you on that. I use Jinx some sense. Sean and
yep.
Dawn. I'm partners with them and affiliates and everything. I'm
Oh,
on
yeah.
their pro staff team. Great bunch of guys. Great bunch of people. Their sense. I've used a lot of sense, but they have a pre-orbital. I'm a gland. I like
Yep.
urine in the scrape and everything, but I'm a gland guy. I really
Yep.
like the glands, and they have a pre-orbital gland that I spray on my vine and everything. And I spray like when I activate it this year, I spray it on there and then I let the deer do the rest of the year. I don't go in and like reapply it and all that because I think you wipe out all that communication. So basically, you're taking the phone book and burning the phone book right now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I
Yeah,
leave it
or
go. I
you're
let them do it. You know what I mean?
yeah, or you're taking a phone book that they look at every day and you're putting new
Scrambling
pages
it.
in it and they don't know
They
you're
don't. Yeah.
scrambling it right. They don't understand it. So yeah, I mean, I don't put anything on mine. I don't put anything if I'm out there and you got to take a leak or whatever. I urinate in my scrapes, but I don't. That has totally changed the way that I hunt mock scrapes. Like you couldn't pay me enough money to get to my tree stand and take the greatest scent in the world
And put it in
and
there.
walk out to that scrape and put that in that scrape. It ain't happening.
Yeah. I
No,
got you.
that's where drippers come in and technology the way it is nowadays, like you could have it there and you don't have to walk there. Well, that's a different situation. But even then, I personally would never spray anything. Forehead gland, I always make a joke with Thomas. They've got, and it works. Don't get me wrong. It's a tarsal gland gel, right? But a lot of people put it on a mock scrape or a licking branch. And I was saying it. I've never seen that happen. It would make a great. It would make a great trail camera footage. But I've never seen a buck stand on his front feet, put his rear legs in the air, and spread his tarsal gland over a licking branch. It doesn't happen. So when
Well,
you
that's
do
like I
stuff like
said.
that,
That's like I said with pee. A deer don't lift his leg and pee in the
yeah,
tree either.
yeah,
I don't believe in putting pee on the licking branch either. It's
no,
always the pre-orbital and the earwax or whatever. And that's what
yep,
Jinxum does have that. But I see a lot of people spraying
yeah,
deer urine on branches, and it's like I get it. They lick themselves, they clean themselves. They may have a little bit of that scent on there, but it's minute
yeah,
molecules on that licking branch. And
yep,
if you go and spray that pee on there, that's a no no in my book. Like,
yep,
because that's a big red flag saying this is not natural.
yep,
So I
exactly,
put only gland scent on the licking branch. I'm a big fan of the licking branch. The
yep.
deer don't pee up in the licking branch to
Yep,
me.
that's right.
That's why I
No, and
spray.
I'm the same way. I start mine. I make sure all of my are done. I prep all my stands on the 4th of July, and
Hmm.
if there was one that's broke or if it needs to be replaced, some of them vines get kind of brittle, and I make sure they're replaced every year.
Yeah.
And I don't touch them.
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
I don't go to that spot unless the camera dies or if I'm in there tracking something or if it breaks and I got to figure out a way to get in there, to get
Yeah.
it fixed. But
Well, that's great information on that mock scrape. That's
mhm.
what I wanted to do. Now,
Yep,
before we get into the EHD and our last
yep,
topic, I wanted to ask you something. Your early stands and everything like that, like your early setups and your stands, and even like these mock scrapes and all that, and getting in no early hunts, early season.
yep.
Does that pertain also? Would you still follow those same rules for urban hunting? Like, because it seems to me like I get a lot of we talk a lot of urban hunts with me and City Sticker Chris,
Yeah,
and urban hunting is totally different than like big woods hunting in my eyes.
yeah.
But like the deer are hearing dogs, they're smelling breakfast, they're listening to cars run by. Do those early morning sits make a difference when you're urban hunting too?
Well,
Like
yeah.
like,
I have. So this year we did. I'd have to look exactly, but
and I'm
I
sorry,
did.
I wanted to go back to that because I forgot to
No,
ask you
that's
that.
okay. And I did. Let's see. We did. I think there's 10 this year. 10 5 acre pieces or less
Okay,
that we did, right? So it's becoming really
more
a
and more
lot. And
popular.
I think I'm like 10 properties under 20s or 20s or less, right? So big thing, and 20 acres in an urban setting is a big thing. But I mean, when you start talking about fives and
Like
twos and
wood
stuff,
lots, yeah, like wood
like,
lots that are
yeah. So
an acre or
that could
two.
be out in a kind of off the beaten path, not in urban, right? But if
Mm-hmm.
you're going to be in urban, I always tell people this is and the reason I say this is there's people that smoke their clothes before they hunt.
Mm-hmm.
There's people that use a nose jammer product. I use scent thief, all kinds of different stuff, right?
Yeah.
I don't care what you use, but a 6.5, 5.5, 6.5 year old buck, even in a urban setting,
Mm-hmm.
you let him smell human scent, it doesn't go over well, right?
Yeah.
So even in those areas, you have to really, really watch because, like you
Mm-hmm.
said, I've heard it all, right? I've been in the backyard. We're cooking hot dogs, and we had a fire, and the deer they don't care.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I don't know about that. I've
Okay.
never. I
I just
wouldn't do
wanted to
that,
know.
right?
Yeah.
No, I would still um, I would still treat that as making sure there's a reason for him to be there when you're there, and I would let the access, like I said, if it's out of the neighbor's yard
Mm-hmm.
and that buck is there, if it's a if you're accessing in their yard is to the east
Mm-hmm.
and you're going into the west, then you're going to hunt it on a west wind. But if
Mm-hmm.
you're on the on the west side and it just happens to be that buck's there, you have to hunt it on an east wind. Well, that's not the predominant wind. What do? You don't hunt it then.
Mm-hmm.
You go to the next neighbor. That's where public ground comes in, or you figure out a way that when you get there out of that backyard, what is that wind? And if you just treat that spot, I think I think the world of him. He's a great Christian kid, and he's doing great things. Lee Ellis,
Mm-hmm.
with the Seek one,
Mm-hmm.
it's just awesome. The kid has just killed
Yeah.
some giant deer in urban settings. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Totally changed the whole game on that. But I think he'll be the first one to tell you there's a lot of things you can get away with, but a 6.5 year old deer in the big woods of Maine and a 6.5 year old deer in a urban setting live by their nose.
Yeah.
So don't get cute, right?
Yeah. No, I got you.
You have to find the spot. You have to say, okay, I need a north wind to hunt this because that's what I'm hunting, and if it's a south wind, I don't hunt it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah,
Okay. Cool. All right. Well, let's move into the EHD.
yeah,
Ohio got hammered with it,
yeah.
and it's sort of moving up my way in Belmont County. It's sort of moving up, and I think it's there now. So, what is there the magic cure for this EHD? Is there any cure? Like I hear people saying, "Oh, we got this stuff you dump in the water, and it helps the EHD. It
Well,
kills the
there's a new
gnats."
product that hit the market, and I've had some clients with some success as far as really watching did it take bugs away or what's it doing.
Hmm.
Even that's called that EHD fence or whatever that is. That
Hmm.
liquid, great
Yep.
product. Good theory, right? I can't attest to it my part because I haven't used it, but I mean I have heard of it and some clients use it. So is there anything you can do?
Yes.
No. Like a cure all. Is there something we can do as a line of defense? Absolutely.
Hmm.
Um, it's a devastation. I wish I wish Ted that I don't have the experience with TB blue tongue, CWD, or EHD. I wish I could tell you I've never seen it. The sad part of it is I have, and if you're one of us, it will rattle you to the core. In EHD and blue tongue, out west, right? Those two, if it doesn't rattle you as a deer hunter, you're not that invested, right?
Yeah.
So, total devastation, and what it does, for whatever I know one of the reasons, but it attacks mature deer. It's not just because we're only reporting big bucks that we're finding dead, right?
Yeah.
The reason it is they create more body heat. They're bigger deer. They drink more water. Well, when they drink more water, they're at that dang location more, and at midge, they're just there more often. They're
Yeah, the
investing.
percentage is higher. The percentage
Yeah,
is
it's
higher
crazy.
here.
So,
Yeah.
and I've got a doe. To be honest with you, I've got a doe here. She might have it. You know what I mean? I had a buck last year that I know had it, here in central Kentucky, and 4.5-year-old buck. I actually passed him up with a muzzleloader. And what happens, right, is their necks, well, you can tell, and like that buck really started showing the signs of it in September last year. Beautiful buck. And his neck was swollen. You'd have swore he was in the peak of the rut in the middle of September. And I knew exactly when I seen that. And then he was limping, kind of had sore feet, you know. Then he beat it.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, he was chasing does when I passed him up with a muzzleloader in October.
So it can be beat, like a deer can get through it. It isn't
Well,
doesn't kill everything or
well,
all
yes
the
and
time.
no. So that deer, he didn't show up. It's very uncommon that if I can get a deer here that I don't house all of them, and I don't keep them all the time, but I get real familiar with who's here, and if they leave, they don't leave for a week. They're
Yeah.
gone days, right? That deer didn't show up this year, and he was a homebody.
Okay.
Really devastating, because he would have lit the world on fire this year, if you will, as far as seeing that one. So he was mid 150s as a 4.5-year-old buck. So,
Oh wow.
but I found a deer on the farm dead in February that was already shut out. So I don't know if it was him or not, but I'm sure it caught up with him, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, we hear of it like right now, where it's a blessing that I've got it in 2 or 3 counties right here. And I heard today that northern Kentucky's getting, all of a sudden, just boom, getting hit with it right now.
Yeah.
Ohio,
Yeah.
it's sad because it's so devastating. It takes
Years.
Yeah, I'll say this, Ted, without starting this. How do I want to say this without upsetting a bunch of people? But there needs to be, if we only had the emphasis on trying to figure this out, or what we could do, the funding that is behind CWD. If we had that on EHD, CWD is the least of your worries.
Yeah.
There's a lot to go with that, but I mean, it's not that CWD is not a thing, and I got my own personal feelings on that, but I mean, EHD is so freaking devastating.
Yeah.
So what can you do, right? If you have a pond, don't intentionally make water holes. If you hunt something that's got a cattle farm, but exposed mud, don't intentionally make a water hole that's dirt, right? Yes, if you dig a pond, they're saying, there's some truth to it. Don't dig a gradual hole. When you dig a pond, make sure it's got steep banks. Well, that's easy to say, but some steep bank ponds deer don't use because
They can't get that.
they can't wade into it,
Yeah.
right? So that's where a 300-gallon tank comes in. That's where a 500-gallon tanks. All of mine are completely bone dry on the outside. I've tried to put them in an area where that water will run into, so when we do get rain, right, it helps fill. But I just filled one of my 150s today. I got 150 on the farm, and I had to fill it. This is the third time that I've had to fill it because I use it so much, right? But I can honestly tell you, Ted, that buck, that I'm almost 100% sure he had it last year. I really believe the only reason he beat it is because he was at that water hole. When I say he was there 4 times a day when it was 80 degrees in broad daylight, he was there 4 times a day. He was bedded. I could go there and fill it up. I mean, I didn't physically see him, but I'd leave 10 minutes. It was like baiting a bear. He'd be there in the water.
Yeah.
Right. So but I think that's why he beat it, because
Because
it
you
was a
trust
fresh
him.
source, right?
Yeah.
So use the tanks. Don't let anybody tell you that it's bogus and you got to fill them and you should dig these ponds. In a perfect world, we could dig those ponds and we wouldn't have a problem, but that's
Yep.
not the world we live in. And if you have one, two, three that I can think of on top of my head right now, that we pulled the plug on this year at the clients, and it's hard. You maybe they had them built, or there's a native. We took the excavator and I ripped a hole in them, drained them out, let them dry up. I got one here on the farm that was 10 foot deep. I could have watered my food plots with it. It's got a 12-foot crater in it right now because I took an excavator and poked a hole in it.
Wow.
I don't want them, right?
Yeah.
I encourage folks to get rid of that if you can, and go to those tanks, because when you put them in, like I've got that 150-gallon tank that I was telling you about, Ted, that I need to switch that to a 300. And this year I didn't do it because I knew even if I disturbed the ground around it,
Yeah.
it was going to take 2 or 3 weeks or a month to get the grass to grow back in around it. And I didn't do it because I was scared that maybe something could happen. So I'm going to do that next year, right? So I would encourage you to dig them in, get them just below the ground surface or at the ground surface, make them look as natural as you possibly can, and plant that grass around them just as quick as you can.
So
Spend $100 if you have to on clover and ryegrass and lock it in the back around it.
Yeah.
And that's how you fight it.
Yep. Now I was thinking too, like how we had that drought. Obviously, that's really killed a lot. That's what I think sparked that too, is having that drought. So those 40-yard ponds went into 10-yard ponds. So all that mud that's left over was for the midges. I think a good thing would have been if we had a good rain to fill that stuff back up again. Would have helped too. Do you think? Well, once you have the mud and you have the midges, like if you fill that back up and you don't have that mud no more, does that stop it, or does that?
Well, it definitely helps, but it doesn't just because you get a rain, let's say, doesn't shut it off. The only thing that'll shut it off completely is a good hard freeze.
Yeah.
That kills the midge, right? But one thing to keep in mind is, you're right. You can take high banks, right? And as it goes down, you're concentrating the bug, if you will, the midge, into more water, because they'll go back into the crack.
Yep.
Then they go back out to the water certain times of the day, right? And all of a sudden, I mean, we've all seen it. You walk into a mud hole and there's just black bugs. It's no-see-em that swarm all over your face is what it is, right?
Yeah.
So they're all over that, and when they get it in, it goes right into their nostrils, and then it's in their system, and they don't beat it. I mean, it's nasty.
Yeah.
So so things to do, right, is if you have one of those water holes, if you installed it, if you put a liner in, whatever the case is, maybe you have a farm that's a lease farm and they'll let you do some stuff. Bentonite to really, really lock that soil in, make it impenetrable, tighten it up,
Yeah, that's what they use with ponds, is the bentonite.
And that's what it's for, right? It's to make that lock that in. I've seen that work. Around like your water holes, like high fence guys and stuff will tell you, is they have like a lime, they put lime around the water holes, anything that's wet or muddy, doctor those areas up. I think, one thing to think about is, in the world that we live in, it is my business, right? We build better habitat, but with that comes responsibility. When you invite more deer to your farm, you need to understand that you have more of a stewardship in a land. You have to have that mindset, because you're now responsible for those deer when they're on your farm. So what I do is I make sure my feed sites are dry. I make sure my water holes aren't a piece of the puzzle, right? Illinois, I've always said this, and I'll say it again, and I heard this year that you're able to do it. I don't know this for a fact, but for years, all this plume comes from Southern Illinois. I lived there. I know that's where it comes from. It's everywhere, but if there's a strong westerly wind or a strong south wind certain parts of the year, guess who gets it? People to the north. It's a plume, right? It's a plume. It starts from the epicenter of it is Southern Illinois. In Illinois, you can't put a water tank in because that's an attractant. So they encourage people to dig ponds. Well, when you dig these ponds, you're just making the problem worse. If somebody had $1 million and wanted to be a billionaire, that's the lawsuit to go after.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, because
Yeah.
it's absolutely bogus. If there's anywhere in the country that should be saying get rid of your ponds and dig water holes, Illinois should be the one.
Yeah, for sure.
And they're not. So,
Okay.
but
Yeah.
that's how we fight it. We don't. I don't mess around with it. I take it very, very serious because, like I said, my worst day of blue tongue,
Yeah.
and my worst day of blue tongue is 32 or 33 bucks in a day, and that was on like an 1,800 acre farm I had out west, and my worst EHD day is like 10. You don't want to do that.
Yeah, that's just my buddy's in Ohio and he has 1,100 acres and he said it's devastated down there and he wouldn't pick. He hasn't seen a deer on camera. He would lift his bow up for, and he said he's done for a couple of years down there. He's
Well,
not even hunting it this year.
I would, and I don't want to speak for that. I think what you're going to see, I heard wind. I think Ohio is going to take drastic measures. I think you're going to see the season get cut short.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I don't know how they do that, right? Because that's like telling people in Michigan they can't hunt.
You know what they just did though? They just raised the non-resident license. It was $260.
Yeah.
This year, at the beginning of the year. Right now, it's $400.
Ooh.
So I didn't get my Ohio license yet.
Yeah,
well,
I hope
I
they
should have
didn't.
bought it early. So they did it. They changed it mid-season. Like, how can you change it during the season? Are they trying to make money and then cut it short?
That worries me because I would like to think it's not a money situation, and that would really upset me if I found out that it was hey, if you pay more, you can come to hunt deer. But
well, that might be the case, and that's what I was thinking. My buddy, we were just talking about that 3 weeks ago. He's like, yeah, they're supposed to raise it, and we were talking, oh, they'll never raise it during the season. They can't do that during the season. Well, they did it this year.
Yeah.
My buddy just sent me. He just sent me a picture. I'll show you the picture real quick here. Where's it at? Here.
Yeah, I would rather him see not that I don't want non-residents to hunt. Oh yeah.
There's the picture right there. There's the receipt. He said $400. I was like, what? They changed it. He goes, they changed it.
Yeah, well, I'd rather him see, and this would suck for a lot of people. I'd rather see no non-resident hunting at all, and just do away with it than charge people extra money. What you're doing is you're just by doing that, I don't want to see anybody not be able to hunt.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't want to see anybody if you have the long dollar, it makes it okay because that's what happens with CWD.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a crazy world we live in, but
it's unbelievable.
Yep. So them are the things that I know of. I would recommend doing, and it's such a controversial topic, but if I have a question about the health or what to do sometimes, I reach out to Tom Whitty. Call a guy like that has their standard. I don't care what people say about high fence deer. Now there's bad apples, right? Mm-hmm. Most high fence deer, though, in a breeding facility or a ranch, it might be a little separate. But I mean, those guys, you think they take care of cattle? I mean, those guys spend hundreds and thousands of dollars. Them deer inside of a fence, 99.9% of the time, are 10 times as healthy, 100 times healthier than a deer on the outside of the fence.
Yeah.
So if there's anybody that knows what's gonna cure something
or help them or whatever,
it'll be those guys, right? It's like ivermectin and all this stuff they're researching, right? That those guys know this. So if you're questioning, and everybody's got that guy, my guy is Tom, right? But I mean, if everybody has that guy, or call Tom, I'm sure he would share it with you because he's the one that told me, like, dry them water sites up around their waters that they use. You got to get that dry. That's where all that stemmed from. So
yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So
yep.
All right, man. Well, we've been going for 2.5 hours. You believe that? That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, and we're gonna definitely do this again. We'll talk off camera like another time, and we're gonna get something together. Maybe a little bit more of a regular thing.
Yeah. Well, I would like to do is, if you have time, and I touched on a little bit, and I didn't want to go down that hole because I knew we were running out of time. But one of the things that I would like to do with you, and it's something that I'm letting out a little bit more. Not that it's a secret.
Yeah.
But I'm letting out a little bit more I think we need to do a video on contour, thermals, and contour, and what really contour really means.
Yep.
There's a latest, and I don't even know who it is, but I got sent to it the other day that some folks have taken some of my ideas or really studied what contour really means and started talking about it.
Uh-huh.
And I think that's something that we need to help educate some folks on, because I just really believe that when you start talking about a home range of a whitetail buck,
Yep.
and there's contour involved, what does that contour mean? We talked about that on your farm, right?
Yep.
It's like,
Yep.
what does that line mean? What does this line mean?
Yep.
What is it really? How does it connect the community? That's something we need to do
Okay.
a video on. I think a
Yeah.
lot of people, I know that's one of my that's one of my most sought after topics, like feed me information
We
things
might
to
have to
talk
get
about
you on the
every year.
whiteboard then. We'll have to get you on
Yep.
the whiteboard
Yep.
drawing.
We can
You know
definitely
what I
do that.
mean? Yeah, for
Yep.
sure. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, that's definitely something we'll talk about, and we will get on
Yep.
it sooner than
Yep.
later, basically. Then, and we'll get some people in here. We'll
Awesome.
share that out and get people in the chats to share the
Yeah.
post and everything when we're going to do
Yep.
that. But yeah, definitely for sure.
Yeah, I sure appreciate you, Ted.
Yeah.
You keep those, you know where my heart is with kids. Keep those kids in the outdoors up there. If you guys have any questions, don't ever hesitate to give me a call. So
I will for sure. So, but thank you for being on here.
Yeah.
Thank you everybody for being in here tonight. We kept a lot of people hopefully entertained tonight.
Yep.
Josh is a book of knowledge, guys. I learned a lot of stuff tonight. Hopefully you have done as well. Yeah, and hunting season's here, guys. So get out there. Good luck this season. Have a safe season. And Josh, I'll be talking to you again, buddy. I appreciate all your
awesome.
all your
Best of
insight.
luck. Best of luck to everybody. Stay safe, and
I'll keep you
and,
posted on that
yeah.
property. I might even
Awesome.
FaceTime you with that property here.
There you go.
Coming up. Okay. All
Yeah.
right, man.
Sounds
All right,
great,
guys.
guys. Thanks. God bless
All right.
everybody.
Thank you.
Yep. Bye bye.
Bye.